you're watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksiyonlar gitti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. This is going to be one of only two, probably, Europa League themed podcasts this season because, Sinan, it looks like we are heading for a very early exit from the UEFA Europa League qualifiers.
It does indeed. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, yeah, we won't go too far into it. Obviously, we'll have a ton of thoughts on the subject. But yeah, obviously, the main thing that's a drag is just that it was our season opener. I
was gonna say,
show you myself. I'm hiding behind the tag there. Season opener, you know. So like, obviously, it was a drag that we sort of put up a stinker at home like that in front of all these excited fans. But as I'm sure we'll dig into, I mean, not a ton of surprises in some ways, right? I mean, I don't know. Let's dig in, shall we? Probably do lineups and maybe some stats and all that.
Yeah, I don't know if that sounds surprises. I think it was more from my point of view, and I think it is, especially from yours as well, is more disappointment, really, right? Like the lineup was kind of what we expected, except for one name. And he's getting the brunt of the criticism online as well, but that's not very fair, of course, to him, the number 7 there, he who shall not be named henceforth.
Oh, really? So the fans have finally turned on him? Because there always seemed to be like a...
I mean, you know what? I mean,
a quadrant, I guess you could say, a section that was sort of boosting him, but...
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just quickly run down the lineup here. Mert Jurasek.
You want me to do it? I can do it. You know what I was thinking? Maybe we should even go over the rivals lineup today, just given there were some names that we might want to remember.
I don't want to remember.
We probably will remember, unfortunately. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe not want to.
Well, you know,
some notable names.
Yeah.
Let me really quickly. I'll really quickly go through them. Yeah. So in their goal was 26-year-old Ukrainian Dmytro Riznik. Their back line was Mykola Matvienko, 29-year-old Ukrainian, next to Valery Bondar, 26-year-old Ukrainian. Their right back, the famous ginger, Yukim Konoplia, 25-year-old Ukrainian, opposite Pedro Henrique, 23-year-old Brazilian, which is going to be a theme. Their number 6 is Marlon, 29-year-old Brazilian, who plays behind Georgi Sudakov, 22-year-old Ukrainian, and Oleg Ocheretko, also 22-year-old Ukrainian. The right wing is a certain figure named Alisson Santana, 19-year-old Brazilian, who played opposite 22-year-old Brazilian Keven. And they have all played behind 20-year-old Brazilian striker Eguinaldo, which is a name. He didn't actually do much damage, but I mean, he did a little. But I like that name a lot, Eguinaldo.
Did he not score the second goal?
Yeah.
I think he scored, right?
He did. He scored, and he had an assist. But, you know, I think Santana and Keven are the names we're going to be haunted by in our dreams.
100%.
And then, of course, for us. And so this is where things actually get pretty interesting. I would say that there are a couple, perhaps, surprises. I don't know that I would have predicted Tammy Abraham in there. But so let's talk about it. So we have Mert Gunok in goal. David Jurasek in his first competitive match in a Beşiktaş jersey, opposite Jonas Svensson. I don't know why I went to our fullbacks before our central defenders. In the middle of our defense, Gabriel Paulista and Felix Udokai. And then in our midfield, we had Demir Ege in the 6th role, and Orkun Kökçü, of course, also making his debut in the number 10, or sorry, in the 8, I suppose, if we're talking about tactics, but wearing the number 10. And so then, so interestingly, so Rafa is in the sort of number 10 role, behind Rashica on the right side and Gedson on the left, with Tammy Abraham starting up top.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we've gotten the lineup there. If you want to
so
pan to our
I was curious.
lovely faces.
Who did you maybe expect in the number 6 role, Sinan? I'm curious. I mean,
Originally I had written down a projected. I wish I'd actually given this to you and we could have like put it up here. But so I did like a little sort of quote unquote depth chart, but it was just starter and a backup to sort of project who our guys were and to see how many foreigners we had, how many foreigners we need to get rid of, kind of what holes there are still in the squad. And I originally in that thing slotted Gedson as the 6th, like temporarily.
Yeah.
And again, not because he is a 6th, obviously, but just I thought you might. And of course, this is sort of what happens in the game, right? Like he does move centrally for the bulk of it anyway.
Yeah.
But I expected maybe Ole would want to see how they play next to each other. I mean, I understand why he didn't, right? Because I think the obvious problems with doing that would be evident. Although I don't know. Like for me, that the fact that Gedson can't be in the number 6 role is why we need to be hitting the market. I've been a proponent of Kajust since he was linked to us. I don't think Demir Ege is the solution, right? So like I'm not sure he provides what you need that Gedson doesn't, right? Specifically. So that's where I was a little kind of, Yeah. I think I would have expected Gedson. Although again, it's not like outlandish or crazy for Ole to have done it. So just a slight surprise there. Obviously, seeing Gedson playing on the wing is going to always come with a little bit of surprise. But
I mean, that in its own right as well, I think is kind of telling to our situation, right? Where we
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, where we don't have the squad ready, and that's clear.
Yeah.
And personally, I know I've noticed you've been pretty vocal about this in the last 2 weeks. I've been seeing a different Sinan. I mean, here on the podcast, folks, he puts on the positive face, but in the WhatsApp community, if you take out your phone right now and you scan that QR code on your screen there, you can join us in there.
Yeah, you'll see the darker side.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, Mr. Jekyll came out. Jekyll's Sporting, and I've just been noticing that you've been very critical. And personally, I'm kind of two minds in that, where I'm like, okay, you know what? We made two very big transfers. I think Jurasek is a good transfer. We'll get into that a little bit because obviously in this game he was exposed. But I don't know if I said it on air, but I remember very vividly saying it in the WhatsApp community that I do think Jurasek is somebody that's going to get a lot of criticism defensively because that's just not what his strength is. And I fully expected him to struggle in a game like this up against a really skilled winger like Santana, like Alison Santana. So I'm not surprised that he got found out a little bit in that regard. But at the same time, I did feel yesterday he had multiple deliveries and every single one of them was good / dangerous. They had put a couple of them out into corners. A couple were cleared very just before one of our players can tap it in, stuff like that. So his deliveries are really quite good. If you compare that, for example, to Masuaku also had a very high volume of deliveries, but his deliveries were very often, I would say about 70% of his deliveries were not good, were not dangerous. They floated over everyone. They just weren't good. Obviously, it's not 100% fair because now with Jurasek, he does have a target in the box with Tammy Abraham. So that changes things a little bit. But Jurasek goes a lot more for the low type crosses, which I personally really like. I think those are harder to defend generally. A lofted cross really needs to be perfect. The run also needs to be perfect, whereas a low cross is a lot more dangerous. Defender can put its leg against it, can deflect it into goal. the first player can miss it, second player at the far post can hit it home, stuff like that. So I'm more of a fan of that. And I saw yesterday from Jurasek, that was positive. That was really good and consistent. Obviously, his defending wasn't great, but I expected that. I also, honestly, I think if we can balance the team out, I don't think Jurasek's defensive liability is going to be a huge issue for us where we are right now. Now, of course,
No.
1, 2, 3 years down the road, in an ideal scenario where we're building towards, competing in Europe maybe, then you might have to start looking at a fullback that's more complete. But right now, I think for the Turkish league, Jurasek is more than enough, especially with what he contributes offensively. He reminds me, in a way, a lot of Caner. Different style of delivery. Caner was also more the man of the early cross, like Masuaku, but very similar in the sense that both were defensive liabilities, but very productive going forward. Sorry about that, Jurasek rant.
I would... No. I was going to say, too, that I think... look, I've always been a pretty big proponent of Masuaku. I mean, not a stan, like our friend Evron was, for example, but... I was obviously willing to criticize him when he deserved it, which he did for large chunks. But I thought it was still like a little disingenuous that people were comparing him to Jurasek yesterday, in that, people have in mind this version of Masuaku kind of very late in the season. He was very settled. He'd found his role. He'd kind of found a niche within Ole's system. And like you're comparing that version of the memory of a player to a guy who's literally playing his very first competitive match in our jersey. So, I think we have to, you have to be a little patient. It's going to take time for guys to settle.
For sure.
I will say that, for anyone who's not a Patreon subscriber, and this is a good segue, like, follow, subscribe, comment in the YouTube chat, right? Like, give us a little support, folks. For the Schwarting report, which I do monthly for Patreon subscribers, I've taken now to rewatching every game, really kind of hyper-focusing, pausing, rewinding, and trying to find ways to sort of evaluate people's performances in a way that I can kind of rank them and do my whole thing. And so what I've taken to doing is writing like a little green plus mark or a little red minus mark. I have a pen with all the colors. When I see a player doing something positive or negative. And I was especially focused on Jurasek because he was being hyper criticized, I thought, with a certain sector. And in the end, he did more than enough going forward that it actually kind of came out to a net neutral performance. It wasn't actually even a bad one, which I think might surprise people. He did, I had to do like a couple minuses, on stuff because he had where I think he's getting knocked is his contribution to the goals that were allowed, or to I don't know, maybe 2 of them, I think. And I gave him a couple negatives for each of those too. So it's not like I wasn't aware of what he did that was especially bad, but that's all to say that he actually did a lot of small, very positive things in like helping us build up or get out of a jam in the back that, later on in the game, as we sort of settled into it, and Paulista and Felix Urukai were kind of very staunchly in the middle, passing well between themselves, and like Jurasek was a constant outlet as far as connecting the defense and the midfield, and then kind of letting us start to more consistently, do stuff.
Yeah, like a passing option for them. You mean? I assume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he wasn't like a complete dud on defense. Like when he was focused on it, he played actually some fairly solid defense. One of his biggest problems is he gets caught out a lot positionally because he does try to get forward a lot. Which I think obviously when you imagine how we'll play against the vast majority of Turkish Super League sides, it'll probably be awesome to see him banging down that side, like creating trouble, helping us like spring presses and shit like that. So. I can. As far as presses go, that. Right? The next theme, maybe here's a good theme to bounce to. As far as the press goes, like I thought we came out of the gates pressing really well, and I thought, okay, like this is what we're gonna do this year. I thought Ole kind of had his thumb on the scales there, but then as the game progressed, we got to lax, and we were kind of letting I don't know if we were waiting for them to just start playing, but they were very content just standing there with the ball, kind of come. And then as soon as we would press a little bit, they would just cause havoc because
But that's the thing, right?
We'll talk about that. Our midfield was not very great.
But they got their lead,
especially the Demirega side.
They got their lead pretty quickly, pretty early, and
7 minutes. Yeah.
So they didn't really. I mean, up until that point, I have to admit, I was pretty frustrated with how they were able to retain the ball, and we were, we struggled quite a bit getting it off of them. But I think up until that point, it wasn't that bad yet. I think we started the game relatively well. We had immediately, minute 1, we had a chance for Rafa. Very well played in by Tammy Abraham, who I have to point out, for me, is the biggest highlight of this game, because I think he functioned really solidly, really well as a target man. I don't think he lost the ball once with his back towards goal. He was always able to find passing solutions, forward passing solutions. I think he played Rafa through. He played Rasica free on the right once or twice. He had a couple of really good actions. I think maybe
I ranked him number 1 as a spoiler.
I think maybe even the chance for Gedson might have been a pass from him or something like that. He was playing well. It was a very
fantastic.
Good. Yeah, it was a really.
He showed something I didn't know. His ability to distribute the ball was something I did not. He sees angles that you see watching, from way up there that you wish guys could see sometimes. He actually seems to see guys making those cuts forward. No, it's
and you know what?
That was great.
I feel like Ciro had some moments like that last season where we're oh, he had a really nice pass this match, but there were few and far between. But with Tammy, I think he had 3 or 4 in this single game. And kind of going to go back to the team of last season where Ciro didn't really have a lot of delivery. Tammy didn't really have that either, other than a couple of dangerous passes from crosses from Jurasek. But I do think Tammy looks like somebody, if we can just sort out those wingers, if we can just get that sorted, a problem that we've had now for 3-4 years. If we can get that sorted finally, I even think if we don't replace the right back, we don't get a solid number 6, I still think we are going to be in for a decent season. Obviously not. We're not going to compete for
not in Europe, maybe.
I mean, we're not going to compete for trophies, maybe for the Turkish Cup, but the last 2 seasons have been extremely frustrating because I've used this phrase so often. I feel like watching us trying to find goal scoring opportunities, trying to attack, it's like pulling teeth. It's all so difficult. It's so tough for us. If you look at Shakhtar yesterday with Keven and with Alisson Santana, it didn't matter on which wing they got that ball. Also, that Pedro Henrique, their left back, by the way, also very good. Every time they got the ball on the flanks. One thing that you really noticed, that tactically Arda Turan had set up tremendously, I think, because we're all in modern football kind of thinking of, you want to have one winger that's more, maybe more of a classical winger, and then you want to have more of a guy that cuts inside, a goal-scoring winger, kind of But both of these guys, I don't know if you noticed that, Sinan, they stuck to the line for a very long time, going up, stretching us, because obviously Ole is somebody who likes to keep it compact, and one of the tactical victories from Arda over Ole yesterday, I think, was the way that they were able to continuously stretch us with their 2 wingers. Obviously, you need to have the personnel for that. Beşiktaş don't have that. We don't have those types of wingers. Hell, we barely have a winger to begin with. But that is...
Can we just briefly pause for a minute? Because while we're talking about their players, and I don't think we're going to do much of it. I mean, maybe offhand, but I mean, we have to give credit where it's due. I don't know what is in the water over there. I was going to say in Shakhtar, but they're not even in Donetsk.
Slovakia,
I don't,
Slovakia, Poland. Yeah.
If they've got a scout. I mean, it seems like they have a scout in a specific like region of Brazil because they get these guys that I don't want to say they look the same, but like they're all kind of cut from the same cloth. Like, look, honestly, they're these like beautiful people. They find these like amazing like specimens that are just like they look like they're FIFA regens. They have like half of the names of famous footballers from other, like Alisson, like Santana. It's like they're like, I don't know where they find these guys, but there's like 7 of them who all look sort of similar and are just like they had some kid come off the bench like Tobias, who was also fantastic and like really looks kind of cut from the same cloth as well. I don't know where they find these guys.
Yeah, but that's something.
Damn it! I wish we had something like that.
But that's something they have established over 20 years, and they've been doing that for a very long time. And obviously now on social media, you have people like, oh, why can't we do that? Well, I think one of the reasons why we can't do that, first and foremost, is we don't have that type of budget. If you look even back in the 20s, the 2000s, and the 2010s, the amount of money Shakhtar spends on these Brazilian kids is like 10 million here, 15 million there, 18 million there, 20 million there. The likes of Bernard, Alex Teixeira, Fred, all those guys, they cost a lot of money. We've only recently started paying those types of fees. Like, can you imagine 15 years ago, Beşiktaş paying 10, 12 million euros for a player? No, you can't. Because it didn't happen. Our record signing for the longest time was 8 million euros. It was almost stood for 2 decades, that record signing. And there's a reason for that, because Beşiktaş don't have those financial means. We don't have a rich oligarch fronting the bill at our club. So you do have to, of course, give credit to Shakhtar, because it's very easy as a club who have a billionaire backing you to fall into the trap of, let's start buying stars from across Europe, which is essentially what Turkish clubs do, right? No, instead what they did, with the help, of course, of Mircea Lucescu setting up that network in Brazil, they started recruiting young, talented players. Now, it's not that Shakhtar are finding, hidden gems there. They are going for some of the better players, young players in the Brazilian league. They're signing top talent. They're not signing the Endricks and the Neymars of the world, but they are signing the Gabriel Angelos of the world. The guy who we were linked with last season from Chelsea, but ended up going to Al Nassr. Those types of players tend to end up at Shakhtar. And the last 5 years or so, since the war in Ukraine, obviously it's died down a little bit, but last January they went and they signed a bunch of really talented players, and it took them a while to settle. I
know where you're going with this.
It took them about 6 months to settle, but they are hitting their stride right now, and they're starting to perform. And Andrew told us that in the preview. Alisson Santana, he highlighted him. He also highlighted Kevin.
Is there a moral to this story, Khan? Do we have a player of a similar profile who we could treat a certain way?
Well, yeah, exactly.
You're suggesting, we...
That's the thing with this Alisson Santana, right? He was there for 6 months. He scored 1 goal and gave 1 assist. And now this season, he's played 3 official matches. I think he's got like 5 goals and 6 assists or something in 3 games. Absolutely insane. And obviously, maybe he's 19 years old, right? So it's possible that he's going to go through a period of 3 months where he doesn't contribute to any goals. It's perfectly possible.
A semi-ret.
But the moral of the story is we have a player we signed in January, Kenny Arroyo, who is seen as one of the biggest talents in South America. He's one of the biggest talents in Ecuador, and we're barely giving him playing time. We're still playing number 7 instead of him. And for those of you who are watching and are new to our show, I'm not just saying number 7 because I don't know his name, because I don't want to utter his name. I'm refusing to do so going forward. I'm just going to call him number 7. And I think it's a disgrace that he wears that number 7, by the way. That's a number that no player at Beşiktaş should wear unless they're worthy. And he certainly is.
I wonder if we were to get, and here's another name I don't know if you want to mention, but if we were to get Kerem Aktürkoğlu, do you think we would like wedge horn him into that 7 role the way we did the 10 with Orkun? I would hope so.
I'd be fine with Kerem. I'm not a fan of his personality. I really disliked him when he played for Galatasaray because he was constantly crying, he was constantly diving, and I also don't like how selfish he was and all that kind of stuff. But quite frankly, man, with what we've had
He's
to
a
go,
talent, though, right?
yes, and what we've had to go through with our wingers in the last, really ever since the 2020-21 season when we had Prime Gezal, really ever since then, Gezal obviously came, was there for the next couple of years, but he was injured for the most part of it. We haven't had decent wingers. Rebic was a complete and utter flop. Number 7 is a complete and utter flop. Nkudu, he had his moments, but he wasn't great either, right?
Yeah, I mean, his problem was even maybe mostly injuries. Like, he would come out and he's having a great year this season, and then boom, like injuries.
I would take him over number 7 for sure.
Oh yeah. To your credit, you were quick. Like, you saw something in Rashica that you didn't like pretty early on, and I think I was still trying to find. Like, he came out initially last season and was like, okay, like, he's doing some things that, like, you feel like if the rest of the team starts to click, he'll be fine. But then after a while, it was like, okay, well, if we can't rely on other players to click or other things to work in our benefit, right, because of injuries or whatever, lack of depth, this guy is useless. Like, as such, like, as things currently stand, this guy is absolutely useless.
Yeah.
And in such a way that you even start to wonder, like, if you have better players around him, aren't you kind of doing them a disservice?
Yes.
By keeping him around them.
100%.
And yesterday,
100%.
right? Yesterday, I felt, we're watching that happen, because, like, you saw, for example, like Unisek, I don't know that he found Tammy even once in the box, but each one of those crosses was something where, like, you felt like if they can get on the same page, if Tammy knows that thing is coming in low at that angle and makes an effort to sort of make his run
or if the defender
like, see the end, and you'd see Tammy being like, okay, like, that's exactly where I wanted it, like, let's do that again next time, kind of, you'd see that every time, whereas, like, Rashica's crosses, every single one was just like, it's coming in, like, get ready, and it was just, I don't like.
I think he
never even once like put the defense.
I think he had one cross.
I
think he had one cross where he actually managed to kind of create a little bit of separation with his direct opponent, and he crossed it in, and it just sailed over everyone. It just reminded me so much of last season, where there's so many of obviously of number 7's crosses, but also of Masuaku's crosses. By the way, guys, if I say his name, call me out in the chat, and I'll put a coin in the swear jar. But but yeah, he's I mean, when I watched him at Galatasaray, I didn't understand why he played over Yunus Akgün back then. And obviously Yunus Akgün back then wasn't Yunus Akgün now, but Yunus Akgün has always been one of their academies.
Crafty, speedy,
and then one of their,
at least that.
And for years, he was one of their academy's biggest talents. You'd hear about him all the time from, Galatasaray friends and family or whatever. Oh, this kid is really good, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. But then, he'd come in and he'd do a little bit, and then he played for Adana Demirspor, and I thought he had a really good season for Adana Demir. And he came back, and then you thought, okay, now he's going to get his chance, right? And then they signed number 7, and they play him over him, and I genuinely could not see why. I talked to the few Galatasaray friends I have. I don't have that many because I try to avoid that in my life as much as possible, because most of them tend to be not so nice. They
know more.
Yeah, but oh, I thought Nasser had changed his name to Nasser JK. No, sorry. But anyway, back then I told one of them, I said, I really don't understand why you're playing him above Yunus. He is somebody I don't rate him. I really thought even back then he was made to look a lot better than he was, simply because that Galatasaray team was good. And if you look at him now, in the 2 years plus that he's been playing for Beşiktaş, one of the things I don't understand is how one could mistake number 7 for a winger. Because if you think about it, what does a winger need to be able to do? Like, obviously you can't check all the boxes, but you need to check at least a couple of them, right? So either you need to be really fast. Is number 7 really fast? No, he's not. He's actually quite. I wouldn't call him slow, But if I would have to give him,
it's his mind, it's his brain. The thing is, like he'll get a ball that he could run onto, and he'll make like the wrong run. Like he'll cut it out instead of cutting in. Like he hurts his physical traits with the decisions he makes,
and also fullbacks tend to be some of the faster players on the pitch in most situations, and I really feel like Krasic, number 7, didn't finish.
Ooh.
Number 7, I feel like him, like if you were to put it in like FIFA terms, I'd give him like a 77, 78, 79 pace and acceleration, but I really think to be able, like, as a really good winger, you need to have one of the following traits. Either you need to be really fast, and then I would say like 85 plus, 90 speed, whatever. And I know FIFA terms, whatever, but or you need to be, or you need to be a really skillful dribbler and be able to just brush past people really easily. For example, Rachid Ghazal, he wasn't very fast. He was maybe like a 70 speed, but he could just walk past people like they weren't standing there because he was so skilled on the ball. Ricardo Quaresma earlier in his career was fast, and he had that incredible skill on the ball. He lost a little bit of that speed, but he still retained that incredible skill on the ball. But number 7 doesn't have that. He doesn't have those dribbling skills. I'd say he is like a 75 dribbler, And then there's his crossing. Is he a good crosser? No, he's a terrible crosser. I'd say he's like a
60, like a 69.
Like a 60, 65, 69, maybe a 70. But like, to be considered good, you'd have to be like 80, 85 or something like that, right? And then like the only thing he is relatively decent at is firing a shot from distance. The problem is that he rarely gets into those positions because he can't beat his man. So cutting inside and firing off a shot is not something that's in his wheelhouse, because most of the time he just passes it back to the fullback because he's too much of a chicken shit to try and take on this man. And when he does take on this man, he gets beat most of the time. He has the occasional moment where he manages to get past, but like if you look at Santana and Keven yesterday, they got past their, they didn't get past them every single time, but they got past him most of the time. And even if you don't, if you go at your direct opponent 10 times and you get past him 4 times, that's better than number 7, because number 7 does it once in a game if you're lucky. And he barely tries it. He doesn't try take-ons. So the only thing
I hope Munch and Gladbach weren't watching.
So the only thing he really has is a shot from distance, but the problem is he doesn't get into those positions very often. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been criticizing him very heavily in our group chat. People are, but he still has the occasional good game. Remember Bilbao? But Bilbao, if you think about it, look at the first goal he scores. That's not a moment where he beats a man, cuts in or anything like that. He gets the ball centrally, I believe from Rafa, and he hammers it home because he gets space. It's a great shot, but he didn't do anything for it except for position himself to receive the pass, which is good. But he didn't do anything.
Especially from him, because he often doesn't do that well.
Yeah, and then the second goal he scores, again, it's just him arriving late in the box and slotting that home. It's a great goal, but it's a fantastic assist, first and foremost, from Rafa. But in that game, he did not put his mark on that match despite the 2 goals. People see it as him having a really good match, but he didn't. I even remember us saying back then, it's number 7 who scored 2, but it was really Rafa who stole the show. He was the man of the match, together with other players, of course, because we, as a team, just had a great game. And we did praise number 7 at the time, because at the end of the day, he did score 2 goals, and I think he gave an assist as well, which was one of those few lucky assists he gets once in a while in a blue moon. But it's just, it happens very irregularly that he does have a game like that. And really, I think one of the biggest issues Beşiktaş have had in the last years is breaking down low blocks. We can all agree on that, right, Sinan? That's been our biggest problem.
Not even...
because we had highlights last season. We beat Galatasaray.
You could argue that Giovanni van Bronckhorst got fired because of his inability to do it, right?
Yeah. But we did have our highlights last season. We beat Lyon, we beat Galatasaray twice, we beat Fenerbahce twice, we beat Athletic Club, But those were all teams that gave us space in behind to an extent, right? Like, whereas the low block teams, we really struggled against them. Doesn't mean we didn't win a couple of those games and we didn't have a couple of good matches against them. I believe Kartal brought up Alanyaspor and maybe there was another one or so. But like for the most part, we really struggled in those games. And one of the biggest reasons of that is because we don't have wingers like Alisson Santana, like Keven, who go at their direct opponent and beat them consistently and are just a constant handful and a menace for the opposition. We don't have it.
If people think we're hammering on about the winger, look, by winger, we're talking about chance creation, right? Something more tangible, perhaps, right? And if you're not going to get it from, like, if we don't even, like, we don't have a sort of talismanic assist maker in our midfield at the moment. Orkun could actually become that, right? Yesterday was his very first, right? He was his very first performance. But like beyond that, like that's just one angle. And if that's all we have, our opponents will be able to game plan around his role and prevent him from creating chances.
Rafa, but
because you need outlets, you need alternatives, and that's where. So by talking about a winger, we're not talking about just like one guy or trying to scapegoat like the whole thing on the board or whatever it is. But the idea is that we're not creating chances, and we need someone else on the pitch who can. If not two more people, frankly, right? And I think when you talk about a sixth, part of why I'm very determined that we do get a sixth, and I think we will, to be honest. But the reason I say that is because we need, if not a guy who can also contribute in that sense, like in a deep lying way, who at the very least can focus enough on the defensive responsibilities in the midfield that he can unlock Orkun to focus more on creating chances and being more free to go forward. I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but with Demir Ege, one of the reasons that I think he had one of the worst performances for anyone on the squad was that he was not disciplined positionally, and like so he was the sixth, but it was often Orkun who was having to track back and contribute defensively far more than you would have liked. And it was because Demir Ege was kind of positioning himself, trying to make runs forward sometimes even. And it was like, dude, please let Orkun do his thing. Like, can you just focus on defending, man? And I think it's like Demir Ege would be perhaps the best 8 off of the bench in the Super League, right? Better than our opponents could throw out there, I would argue. But he is not one of the better 6s in the league, I don't think.
I think one of the things with Demir Ege is the arrival of Orkun has definitely changed his outlook for the season a little bit, I think. But, this was the point I was trying to make at the beginning of the show, but we kind of then went off and started talking about lots of other stuff. But so, you've been pretty critical of the last 2 weeks. More so than I'm used of you to, on the board, on the transfers and all that kind of stuff. And I'm, like I said, I'm kind of two minds because we did sign 3 players early. I think Jurasek was a good addition. 25 years old, in the prime of his career. He is in that regard better than Masuaku, I think. I also think that down the line we're gonna enjoy him because he has a motor in him. He can keep running like crazy. He has speed as well.
Just pause. I want to really kind of clarify for any listeners out there who heard you. Like when Khan says that I've been critical of the transfers, I have not been critical of the guys who we've brought in. I think every move we've made. Yeah, and specifically not even just the lack, because it's not like, look, I've made a whole, I don't want to say career because that does, it's not quite that. But for as long as you've known me, I've slagged off people who are too negative in the group chat.
Yes.
But so that's not like, it's not like I'm impatient or like, oh my God, we have to be, why aren't we doing more? Because 3 transfers early on, great. The problem is, it's just the need for a winger as like priority number 1 was such that like it.
Well,
it's like priority 1, 2, and 3, and I don't even mean we don't need 3. I'm not saying we need 3 wingers. I just mean it's such a high priority that like I want people to treat it like, please, like don't even until you bring home a winger. I don't. It's like when you go to the supermarket to get butter, right? And then you get sidetracked and it's like, oh, this cereal's, this whatever, these donuts look good, whatever, and you like hey, focus. Like we're here to get butter. Get the butter first, and then you can kind of like let your mind.
You're describing HDHD right there, Sinan. Are you are you exposing
Perhaps.
yourself?
Maybe if anything, I'm exposing my wife. To be honest, but yeah, no, like it's in a way, it's like, dude, before we start making these squad improvements, which again, great improvements, I would argue. Just bring me home that winger, and frankly, and I actually also I want to give, because he's not here. Shouts to Carto, the Scotsman. You don't worry, folks. He'll be back next episode. It's a temporary thing. It's the internal issues over there. But he was talking about how important it was that we get a sixth, and I remember kind of scoffing at the idea, and I don't really exactly remember why I was, but at the time, it's true. We were playing Ox for the second half of the season, and then when he went down, we had Amir Hadzimetovic, and you'd think like alarm bells are ringing. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
But in the back of my head, I think I thought, all right, look, we spent at the time a record amount on Al Musrati. He's gonna come back. It didn't seem logical that he was going to settle in because we'd kind of already discarded him and it didn't pan out and whatever. But I thought, like, he had a decent enough, 6 months or whatever it was, the previous season, capped by a heroic goal against Trabzonspor. Maybe we salvage this thing and, like, he becomes that sixth that we'd hoped he would in a pinch, right? Or at least, till January, if it doesn't quite work out. The level to which, I mean, his summer was pretty terrible. Especially I think his last performance, right? It came out, was it the last one where he came off the bench and was just absolutely horseshit.
He's been horseshit every minute he plays.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was his first one. I think
the
last one the last one was that second half where it was like all the sort of rejects, and I mean he was the least rejectee. I don't know the adjective for that. He was the less bad of that bunch, but it was a bad bunch.
Kenny was good.
No, but he was in the first half. Remember, it was the second half where it was just all.
I think Kenny played 90.
Remember, it was like. Kenny was good. I meant specifically in the second half of the last preseason game. They really cleared the bench, is what I mean.
Yeah. I mean,
and he played in that one, and he was like. He was one of the better of the players who, we'll probably never see in a Beşiktaş shirt again. But it doesn't mean anything ultimately. Clearly, my point being that, Al Musrati has not panned out, will not pan out. Yes. He's not going to be the one saving us.
So now there's a need for a six, basically.
Yes, and for me, it's an existential one to the level where. It was all this talk of a right wing back, and even that, it's like Osai Samuel and Kyle Walker-Peters. The more we see that Jurasek's strength is kind of bombing forward, and you kind of almost want
a
right back.
We already knew that.
In profile and in theory, but now we've seen it ourselves. So like it's fairly clear. I think what I think is pretty obvious is that in your right back you want someone who you could almost even shift into sort of a right central back at times, right?
So I was really surprised with the profile of Osai Samuel. Kyle Walker-Peters made more sense to me because he has also played as a central defender, so he can do that. Emerson Royal, who nobody wanted, profile-wise in terms of where he can play, would have made sense as well because he can also play in the back three. Obviously, nobody wanted
people
him.
Slag that one up,
and rightfully so.
I don't even know. My whole thing that whole time was I don't know the guy at all.
But Sian, I have a rule of thumb going forward, man. We can never make this mistake again. I call it the Daniel Amarte mistake, where you sign a player from a top 5 league where everyone says he's fucking shit. You don't sign that player. You don't go, but that's the Premier League, he'll be fine in Turkey. No. If people say a player is shit, You don't take him because shit in the Premier League is shit in the Super League. It's like I was saying about Emerson Royal.
Yeah.
He can't cross the ball. Okay, he can't cross the ball in Italy. He's not going to be able to cross it in Turkey either. The airflow doesn't magically change in such a way where suddenly all the balls that he crosses into the stands now derive straight on the striker's head. No, that's not going to happen. So don't try those types of things. We don't have, Ole has said it many times, we don't have the luxury to take gambles like that. We have to be certain about our transfers. And I do think the players that we've signed, to come back full circle, Jurasek, I think is a good signing, but we both, I think you and me agreed on this. Kartal didn't agree as much, but replacing Masuaku wasn't a number one top priority because we could have extended Masuaku a season and kept going with him. Now, okay, I applaud that they went for a player in the prime, in his physical prime, somebody who only just a couple of years ago joined Benfica for 13 million euros, highly rated, Czech international. I'm talking about Jurasek. So I applaud getting that player, but I understand, okay, it's an opportunity that presents himself, so we sign him early. That's fine. No problem. You can sign him early. And I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, you have to sign 5, 6, 7 players before August. I understand that, the process of transfers is very difficult. You just have to look at internationally at all the clubs. Like, there's so many people out there, fans out there with very unrealistic expectations. Oh, we should have signed, 8 players already and we should have sold 10 players. Sadly, it doesn't go like that. It's all about offer and demand. And when it comes to selling players, it's also about offer and demand. In the last week or so, I've seen a lot of comments in the group chat of like, oh, we should have had all those things sorted already. They've had the time. The problem with selling players is that unless you have interested parties that are really, really interested and keen, you're not going to be able to sell players early. It's not going to happen. And unfortunately, we are in a situation where all our players that we're trying to offload, other than maybe Gedson, and I say maybe because it's not clear whether we want to offload him or not because of the next part, but all the other players...
I was going to actually, that was a conversation I wanted to bring up. Yeah. Maybe this is a good segue after this.
Well, anyway,
ahead, sorry,
finish your so one of the big issues is with all the players we are trying to offload, and this is a problem for most clubs in the world. Look at Manchester United, for example. Most of the players they're looking to offload are either rejects, people who flopped, like number 7, for example, and or, this is not mutually exclusive, but usually is, they are on very high wages. So it's very difficult to clubs who might be interested. Let's take Ernest Mucci, for example. I'm sure, I don't know what wage he is on because that was never communicated. I've only read rumors. And not particularly super strong rumors at that, but people suggesting between 2 and 3 million a year, which would blow my mind because I think in Poland he was probably making 200,000 euros or something stupid. But anyway, let's say Ernest Mucci. You would think that, okay, if he's making, let's call it 700,000-800,000 euros a year, then a club like Anderlecht would definitely be interested in him for 4, 5, 6 million. But he probably has a wage well over 1.5 million a year, probably closer to 2. And that's just something a club like Anderlecht is not able to pay, So that makes it really difficult to offload him. Rasica, sorry I said his name there, penny in the swear jar. He's a player who's on a wage over 2 million euros. At the time it was reported as 2, but recently people have been saying 2.7. Can you imagine that he's on 2.7 million a year? Who on earth is going to take him? You're going to have to pay him 1.5 million to fuck off, and then he'll sign somewhere for 800, 600, 600, 700,000 maybe. That's the reality of it. So to say, okay, we should have had things lined up, yeah, that's not gonna happen. And then you have those other people who say, well, it's their fucking jobs. Yeah, that still doesn't make it any more plausible. It might be their fucking jobs, but you can't magically take control of another club like in Football Manager, make a second manager profile and start buying all your trash. It doesn't work like that in real life, except if you're Ali,
Ooh, I never thought of
except
that.
if you're Ali Koç and you can do it under the table, you know. So
or the Hull City dude. Maybe.
yeah, exactly. But we don't have that luxury. We can't do that. So for us to offload our trash, it's very, very difficult. So having that lined up going into the transfer window, like the reality of it is, most of those players are probably gonna end up going towards the end of the transfer window. That's just how it is, because that's when clubs start looking for opportunities. That's when option A, option B fell through, so now they're going for option C. You know, take for example Al Musrati. I'm sure there's Saudi Arabian clubs who have them have him on their shortlist, but he's probably not option A. He's probably not option B. So the reality is, you'll probably have to wait until the end of the window, and then one of those clubs may come in for him and probably offer a stupid, you know, obligation to buy thing like what was offered in January. In hindsight, Salah Adala should have never blown up the deal that was put in place by Hussein Yücel, which would have netted the club 10 million euros this window. Anyway, so
real quick, I want to fact check. Grey Wolf said that when rumors came out for number 7 offers, he immediately shut it down, saying he's happy with us and if we want him gone, pay him his full remaining salary. I think you're conflating rumors, Huzur. That was the rumor that was going out about Al Musrati, that he was saying, pay me the rest of my salary because I was happy somewhere else.
That same rumor was said.
His agent did.
Same rumor was said as well.
Not the payment though, right?
No,
he didn't
also,
say pay me to leave.
No, that was 2 separate rumors. So like
he said, I'm happy here, right? He was like, I'm happy here.
Yes, but then there was like a couple of days later was the same thing. You know, if you want me to go, pay me. You know, essentially that was also.
Oh really?
Yeah, but those are rumors.
What? Is that really happening? Is that really happening?
Yeah, but we don't know, right? Those are rumors, and we know the media. You can't believe what they say, so it's difficult.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I
hope not.
I think if you look at the signings, Tammy Abraham for me, a striker was a top priority. I think together with a winger, it was 1A and 1B. So that is great. Box checked. Orkun Kökçü, I don't think that position was a top priority, but I think given the situation, that is a fantastic signing. That's somebody we can, you know, I talked about it last.
It gives you the ability to sell Gedson.
It
right?
gives not just that.
Not that you necessarily want to or need to.
Not just that, Sinan. It's a player, like you couldn't come up with a more perfect scenario of a player that you're going to build around going forward. You know, we talked about Rafa last season, about building around Rafa, but it's you know, he's 31 already. Yeah, you can build around him for 2-3 years, but the thing is with Orkun, you can build around him for 10 years, for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. You can plan that out. You can make a long-term project with Orkun at the center of it. He can be your Hans van Aken, which is an example I keep going back to from Club Brugge. But Club Brugge signed Hans van Aken when he was 24, 25 years old, and they build around him for almost 10 years. That's what we can do with Orkun. So while Orkun's position wasn't necessarily a top priority, I do think it's a fantastic transfer, and I think for many reasons. There's people now who are saying, oh, we shouldn't have bought Orkun because 25 million, we should have spent that elsewhere. I disagree with that. I think this was an opportunity we couldn't miss. We had to buy him because Orkun, you can't just see it this window. You have to see it.
Also, I was going to say, but it's not even 25 this window plus, right?
Yeah.
It's just what, 5 million, right?
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, you can't look at it short term. At Orkun, you have to look at it long term. Yes, okay, it's a big.
Of course, no, but I just mean even if you are looking in the short term financially solely, right? Like as far as this window goes, it doesn't really hamper your ability to.
I mean, we aren't
in that it wasn't a huge upfront.
See now, we aren't paying anything upfront, huh? Zero.
I thought wasn't there one?
No. €0.
I thought it was like 5 million upfront
and 20
later.
It's 25 million total, and that 25 million will be paid over 4 years, starting next year. So we aren't paying a dime this season.
Come on, yeah, you can't complain about that.
Exactly.
Shit. And then you even wonder how it's broken up over the 4 years. Like, is it even that damaging?
Yeah, exactly. Because
next
you
year
have to
whatever,
you have to
right?
think as well. Like, hopefully in a year's time we will be out of the the bank union agreement, and that means we will have an annual income of an annual budget of 100 million instead of 50. So it will be affordable if we do that. Anyway, I think, like I said, I'm of two minds. I think they did a good job with those transfers. The problem is,
I have no problem with the moves.
And
it's just the holes that they didn't fill.
No,
right?
no, but that's one of those things. Like, I don't think it's fair to expect them to fill all the holes before this game. This game is really, really early. It's not fair to expect them to...
Not all of them, but dude, the one was such a glaring hole, man.
The winger, we should have signed at least one winger, at least. And at the end of the window, we need to sign at least two. Because clearly Ole is not ready to give Kenny the ball and let him run with it. So we need to have someone that we, under no circumstance, can we go into the season, into the Super League season, with number 7 as our starter. Preferably, he's gone.
In Ole's defense,
but he can be our starter.
I don't know if you're seeing this. He's yanking him first. I think he's starting to see.
But he shouldn't have started him, Sinan. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's just no excuse.
Yeah.
How bad was he in the friendlies as well? And I know, okay, look, they're just friendlies. They're fitness matches. But Ole was talking after the friendlies like, nobody really convinced me today and stuff like that. Yeah. And then after the last friendly, where Kenny played a really good game, I thought, he said, very few players convinced me today. I thought, but
Kenny, or nobody changed my mind.
Yeah, and I thought I thought, but Kenny did, right? Because he was actually good. Like, he showed a lot more in this game than Rasica has done last season and the previous friendlies. But apparently not. He didn't.
Yeah, I actually thought he was a little bit rash with a couple of whatever. There's no reason to go on the record. In the Schwarting, check out the Schwarting report. I'm going to do a preseason review. I did the whole power ranking for that.
Yeah.
Nobody's surprised. Here's a spoiler: is that the top ranked Beşiktaş player in the preseason rankings was Demir Ege Tiknaz.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody will be surprised by that.
He was good in the friendlies. But
he was really solid.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm not.
But then, that's actually what made his performance. Now that we're back to our match yesterday, that's what made his performance, I think, especially disappointing. Perhaps. We knew he might be out of his depth as a 6 a little bit, but I at least hoped he'd shine in a way that
Well, I think with
at least you were he might be out of position, but he still did this or that.
I think he did play that position at Rio Ave. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he played predominantly as a number 6 there. And that is really, he's, like I said, he's a very similar profile to Al Musrati. Maybe a little bit more dynamic going forward, but he's very similar. He's not a typical defensive 6. He's more like a playmaking 6. And the thing is, we now have Orkun. So that really, doesn't really make it
little redundant.
Make it super logical for Demir Ege to play next to him. And don't get me wrong, I do think Orkun and Demir Ege and Kartal are good squad depth players. And I think
me too.
And I think in regards of last season we had Amir and we had Ox in the second half of the season. I think we are actually improving upon that with Kartal and Demir Ege.
Real quick, before we move on from Kartal Kayra, because I doubt we'll talk about it much, people were slagging on his performance yesterday because, again, he had a negative contribution with the last goal.
I think that's just because he gets beat a little bit too easily, maybe.
No, it was bad. It was bad. He got sort of physically manhandled by... who was that? I think it might have been Santana, actually. But regardless, he did a lot of positive things that I think, because of his position, you might not really notice. Because he's not in a flashy position where he's going to get a lot of shots on goal or, he's not doing anything with a ton of flair necessarily. But he was actually quite solid in, calming the midfield, setting the table for kind of build-ups. So I thought, people were harsh in their estimation of his performance.
It's difficult to...
As they were with a bunch of people.
But you know how people are, online, especially on social media, and it turns into an echo chamber, and the negativity just bounces off the walls, and people... look, there wasn't much to be positive about yesterday. I think it was one of the absolute worst home performances in Europe I have seen in a long time. And we've seen a couple of stinkers, man. We've seen, we got beat by Club Brugge 4-0. We got beat by Genk 1-4. We had a couple of really bad ones.
I mean, I hate to rub salt into wounds here, but don't forget that Maccabi match counts as a home match.
Yeah, no. But like, I mean, the Club Brugge one in particular was maybe worse than this. But this was really bad as well because they were passing the ball around and we just couldn't get it. Sinan, I don't remember a game like that where a team...
Was it the third or the fourth goal where they passed it 57 times?
The third goal, they passed it around for 3 minutes. We didn't touch the ball for 3 minutes and then they scored. And I remember that because the commentator said that Beşiktaş haven't touched the ball in 2.5 minutes, and 30 minutes and 30 seconds later the ball was hanging in the back of the net.
I think it was Murder Mert who, someone had posted that he had estimated like 40 passes in a row, and it turned out it was 57 passes in a row that led up to the goal, which I think that might have been the one Kartal Kayra sort of struggled with.
And it was kind of, it was that one, but it's also like, it's, Santana was walking past everyone, was just
Can we buy that kid? What's he worth?
I wish. I think if you want to buy him now, it's like 30 million or something. It's impossible.
Yeah, especially us.
But Shakhtar puts high prices on their players. They bought him for like 15, so they'll probably end up asking 40, 45 or more, whatever. I don't think he's for sale. Quite frankly, I don't think they would ever sell him right now because the money, like 30 million. I think they'll probably be up in my.
Unless you got Man City with like 100,
Yeah, but like and they did, Shakhtar they
the next Marmouche.
Shakhtar don't sell stuff easily. But yeah, it's just the theme of the game for me was just a ball that was unattainable. We just could not get it. And they just kept passing it around. They kept stretching us with their two wingers. Their Pedro Henrique, their left back, was excellent at it as well. I definitely think there were some flaws in their team, like that Konoplia player wasn't too impressive. Maron wasn't too impressive. They had a bunch of players that I think were made to look better than they were simply because their ability.
I mean, most of the Ukrainian players weren't very good.
The goalkeeper was good.
He was good. He made a couple of I think one of their younger central midfielders who was Ukrainian was pretty good too.
And Sinan,
I forgot their name.
I feel like we were completely and utterly dominated. I feel like they 100% deserved to win. But I do have to say, I think they converted almost 100% of their chances. And if you look at it...
When they had 2 goals, they had 2 shots.
Yeah.
2 shots and 2 goals. So that was unfortunate.
It's a weird one because I think nobody watching that game will say afterwards, oh, that was unlucky for Beşiktaş. No, I think we 100% deserve to lose.
Hey, put up the stats. Yeah, put up the stats.
I don't have the stats, like I said earlier.
Here, I'll do it.
Fotmob didn't have the detailed stats for some reason. On my phone.
Oh, really? They did yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Here, let me go through it.
But anyway, what I was gonna say is, we actually forced their goalkeeper to multiple good saves. Rafa in the first half.
Let me do it. Let me do it
just
quickly.
Just a second. So Rafa in the first minute of both halves forced him to a really good save. Gedson forced him to a really good save. So I feel like we had 3 really good goal scoring chances, and other than their goals, I don't remember them having many.
So here we go. They had 53% of the ball, which is like you would have expected them to have way more of it, considering those stretches.
I'm sure they had.
They were just pinging it around.
They obviously had periods in the game where they had 80% probably. Yeah.
And I think I even remember seeing at one point that it was up to like 58 or maybe closer to 60%. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe towards the end we sort of got back into it a little. But so yeah, we only had. We had 47% of the ball.
Now the stats are showing up properly.
They're back. Yeah. The XG, we led. We won the XG battle, 1.67 to 1.59. We had 12 shots to their 11, 6 on target to their 5, 3 big chances to their 2. We missed 1. They didn't miss any, obviously. Again, they had 5 shots on target. 4 goals. We might have to look at Mert's performance. I didn't really hyperanalyze.
He wasn't. I mean, he didn't really. I mean, he didn't do much, right? Like, he didn't have a chance, really. I mean, the goals that he conceded, Like the first one's a deflection.
Yeah, that was on, which I don't blame anyone for.
Yeah,
really.
the fourth one.
The build-up maybe a little.
Yeah, the fourth one is unsavable. The third one I think deflected again off of Felix. I think the third one deflected off of Felix, and the first one did as well. And the the second one was a header at the far post. Like, so really, like, I'm usually, me, I tend to be critical of Merck, but I can't criticize him for any of those goals. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. I'm gonna bring up those stats as well, by the way, in a second. But
oh, good.
Yeah.
I can finish. I'll finish reading through them anyway. So yeah, they completed far more passes, which will not surprise anybody. They had 446 passes completed at a 90% clip, to our 372 completed at an 89% rate. We committed 10 fouls, there's 7. The ref was, it wasn't a bad game from him, I'll say. I mean, he did some weird things. I don't know why he cut off like 30 plus seconds at the end of the first half, and then didn't give us enough time at the end of the second half with all the stoppage from the fans. But whatever. That's.
I mean, the one
spilled milk. No,
the
spoiled
one criticism.
Sour grapes. I'm being.
The one criticism I have on the referee is that he allowed 3 minutes. Like, after we scored the 2-3, there was a certain amount of momentum, and we were dangerous. I genuinely think we could have gotten a second goal, a third goal, sorry. But he allowed their goalkeeper to, waste a lot of time. And of course our idiot fans started throwing stuff. But like, I think at the point that our fans started throwing stuff, there was already 45 plus seconds gone. So like, I understand the fans being frustrated, just having to sit through that game.
And in the fans' defense, I would say that there was like 12 minutes of football in that second half.
Oh yeah.
The Donetsk, and again, I guess it's a skill these days. I really wish that there was a way for the governing body to sort of clamp down on this, because it really makes it. This is a hard sport to watch when a club who has a lead is just determined to waste time.
Yeah.
Because it was painful, man. Like, it's funny. I remember people complaining about all the ad breaks during like NBA games during the playoffs when everyone was watching. Yeah. And like, sure, like it sucks, but like, I'm not gonna lie. Some ads are far more entertaining than the football you get to watch when when you have those time-killing stretches. Like Donetsk was, masterful. Time Lords. Yeah. They were Kang the Conqueror when it came to bending time to their will.
But I feel like they only did that at the end, though. After they conceded the second goal, I kind of feel like that's when.
Dude, even honestly though, even like as soon as they went up a goal, they were. Pretty thorough in stretching out, especially their keeper, man. He was. I'm not gonna say like at the end of the day, like he was. Yeah, I guess that's what you need.
No, you're right. You're right. The keeper in particular was kind of building towards that. But, I really think that the fact that they have Arda Turan as a coach, I think it really, really worked into their advantage, because I really feel like Arda obviously knows what... it's not just about beating the team and the coach. It's also about beating the crowd, especially against a club like us. So... what Arda, of course, knows is how do you frustrate these fans? How do you get, first and foremost, you score a goal early. But then you also, you start wasting that time. And like you said, the goalkeeper did start pretty early. And that gets on the nerves of the fans. And by the end of the game, they lose, the fans lose their cool. And that can resort into what happened, 3 minutes of wasted time there. And yeah, we did get, I think, the majority of that 3 minutes played on. But the problem is, at that point, the momentum was completely gone. Because we had just scored, and we had like 1 or 2 more dangerous attacks afterwards. And then that 3 minutes came of nothing. And afterwards, we weren't able to do anything anymore. The momentum was completely gone. They were very smart to kill the game like that. And of course, our fans are dumb enough to fall for it and play into their hands. That's just,
that's right. Yeah. No, I was not proud of our fans, to be honest. Especially, like, dude... booing on the first day of the season. Like, obviously we were all sort of heartbroken and disappointed. This was not the day we were hoping for.
No.
But come on, guys. Like, think of all these guys who, I mean, Tammy Abraham, and credit to him, I think he's going to thrive because he obviously, like, loved the whole thing, the whole situation, the crowd. He was amped. He was very gestural. What's the word I'm looking for? Not provocative.
Gesticulating.
But he was moving his hands around a lot. He was gesticulating a lot, trying to get the team to sort of like lock back in. And he's like, okay, we're just down a goal. We're just down 2 goals. We still got this. We're coming back. And at the end, his comments were pitch perfect when he said, basically like, we saw them celebrating like they'd won this tie. I've seen this happen before, and like I've logged that in my memory banks. Like, thank you for that momentum, that motivation. He said it in a much better way than I did.
He basically said, like, say it again, when Hatay's coach Ameredon at the time was like talking about it, and then Sergen was like, we'll see on what was it, Cumartesi, So, it's kind of like that. Like, Tammy Abraham was like, you could tell his face, his body language was ticked off. He was, his honor was hurt, and he's like, we'll see about this. I mean, if they, and that's
what was that movie? Remember the 8th of November.
And I think this is like, obviously, the chances of us qualifying are slim to none. But if there is a chance, that will be because
they might have given it to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that will be because they, in their heads right now, already think they've qualified. And if they go into that second leg with that mindset of we've qualified already, that could end up blowing in their faces. It's very, very unlikely because I think if you saw, the discrepancy yesterday in quality, like difference there, like it was they were just way too good. They were way too good for us. They just completely and utterly outplayed us. But
it's true. They were celebrating.
Yeah.
They were celebrating so much, and frankly, I don't remember if it was Kevin. One of those guys was so disrespectful to our fans, like, "Oh, where are you now?" Doing all that stuff. That I really like. Yeah, the North remembers. I'm glad. I'm glad Tammy said that. Yeah. Let's finish up those stats real quick.
Yeah, let's. I got them up on the screen now as well, by the way, as you know.
Nice. So let's just move right over to the duels, I suppose. I'm not going to do Kartal's sort of Rain Man math skills there, but the duels won. They won 38. We won 28. They won 58% of their duels to our 42. Ground duels, 32-22, again in their favor, 59% to 41. Aerial duels, 6-6, 50%. So a strong. I mean, that's probably almost entirely thanks to Tammy Abraham. Man, that guy is a warrior in the air. And then successful dribbles. They completed 8 at a 62% rate. So I don't know. That's 8 out of like.
I mean, that's
15
that's surprisingly low. I feel I felt.
I know.
Right?
I
felt like Santana had 8 on his own and Kevin had another 8. So I don't know if that's stats.
Maybe that like Kono. I bet Kono Plia dumped reduced their stat.
But even just the number
only had
of dribbles
5.
seems low.
Yeah, that's true. We only had 5 successful dribbles, completing 56% of them. So I'm guessing 5 out of like 11. Discipline. We got 3 yellow cards. They only got 1.
Which
I'm trying to think of any.
That's maybe another one of those things that I kind of, the referee we can kind of talk about a little bit. Like they had a couple of nasty tackles that,
they did.
They didn't.
Yeah, but he was really letting play go.
He was, but I feel like especially early when it was still kind of a match, like there was a certain physicality to them. But also, I mean, to come back to what I was saying about Arda, and one thing I think that maybe would not have happened with another coach for Shakhtar, a coach that's less familiar with Beşiktaş. I think one of the things that, I don't know if you noticed it, but Rafa was relatively anonymous this game. And I think there's a moment early in the match where he gets the ball and he gets swarmed by 4 players. And it's really something that they did very effectively. Like, and that's to come back to the point that you were making earlier as well, Sina, like where we, need more chance creation,
Options.
more players who create chances. And the problem, this has been a problem throughout last season as well. It's way too easy to lock us down creatively, because if you overload the center where Rafa operates, then you're going to be able to lock us down. And it's no coincidence that once João Mario came on, another player who can create a little bit, suddenly
we should talk about him.
Yeah, suddenly
he was great.
Suddenly we were a little bit more dangerous, because now instead of one creative outlet, you've got two creative outlets. And I think, that's just something going forward that's very important, and that's been a massive issue for the last 3-4 years, is we don't have those on the wings. And to come back at Santana and Keven, they have on both wings, they have that, right? And we don't have it on either wing. We played with Gedson on the left yesterday. And I do have to say, now people might criticize that decision. A lot of people, even last season, I don't know if you remember, Sinan, one of the guys in the comments was saying, well, we should play Gedson on the left, we should play him as a winger. That's something that's been being said by people online for months. And it's happened a few times.
Kartal was pretty. Kartal was advocating for it, even because of the.
But the thing with
he played well there against Hatay.
Yeah, but the thing with Gedson on the wing as well is Gedson on the wing is fine in a counter-attacking formation, I think. But if you're going to try and push, obviously this wasn't the game we dominated, but in most games where that's not going to be a very good option, because Gedson's not somebody who's going to run at players, take them on. Don't get me wrong, he's a good dribbler, but he's best with space in front of him, where he has room to run onto. He can beat his man and then go into the depth, but it's not somebody like, yesterday Santana and Keven, who were constantly going at their players, dribbling around them, putting in crosses, cutting inside, creating havoc, wreaking havoc, I should say. That is just something we so sorely miss. We don't have it, and that is my biggest complaint.
I'll say this. Just
a second, Sinan. That is my biggest criticism is we haven't addressed that issue. And like you said, and like many people have said, it is the single biggest need next to the striker. Like I said, 1A, 1B, we addressed that, but we haven't addressed that yet. Also, I think having a backup striker, Sinan, is a very high priority as well. Because yesterday you saw after 60-65 minutes, Tammy was spent. He wasn't 100% fit to begin with. We need a second striker, because Semi probably going, Mustafa injured, and even if he wasn't injured, he wouldn't be good enough for that yet. So we really need a good second striker. And sorry, now you can.
I was gonna say though, back to the Gedson on the wing thing. Yeah. I think he provided a lot more than Rashica. If you had one winger, maybe that could work in some sort of fun experiment or whatever. But when you don't even have one on the other side, then it's just two. You don't have what you need from the wings. So I will say, I don't think he was terrible on the wing at all. I wasn't surprised to see Rafa go out there and for him to go central.
He wasn't
immediately. He had that counter-attacking kind of run up the middle as soon as he moved to the middle. So you can't ignore his strengths entirely.
He certainly wasn't terrible. I'm just gonna scan this QR code, by the way, because someone's over it. No, certainly not. He certainly wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, because I think Gedson was genuinely one of the better players on our side for sure. And I even think I put it in the description of this episode. Gedson was Gedson. He puts in that he's reliable. He's gonna give you a 7 or a 7 out of 10 every game, maybe even an 8 out of 10. I think yesterday he's one of the few players that gets a passing grade. Together with Tammy. And
he was my third or fourth best player.
And you know what, genuinely, even though Orkun clearly wasn't 100%, I still think he was decent. It's a shame that he couldn't finish the game.
Yeah, he was
he only had 60 minutes in him, and maybe not even that. I think hopefully in a couple of weeks' time when the league starts, he's gonna be at 100%. And I really think we're gonna enjoy Orkun a lot this season. But whether or not we're going to get to enjoy the season, Sinan, is going to depend not solely, but largely on whether or not we address this winger situation. Because
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to that. That's probably the main conversation we're going to have today. And in fact, you kind of alluded to how surprised you were by my criticism. And I mean, I think it's like what pisses me off, and you're already seeing it, and it was so fucking predictable, is the people who are already saying we got to fire Ole.
Oh, yeah.
And this was my biggest fear about the fact that we didn't fill that one glaring need at the wing and sort of provide the team with outlets besides Rafa regarding
it is fair. It is fair to criticize him for yesterday because also tactically the plan wasn't good. Clearly, he got out coached yesterday. I think that is fair to say. Even though the opponents, of course, have a better squad, no doubt, and a more complete squad. But despite that, we have played better squads in the past and still managed to outplay them. Think of Athletic Bilbao, think of Galatasaray, think of Fenerbahce, think of Lyon. We have outplayed better teams in the past, so it's not impossible.
No doubt.
No doubt. He won.
I mean, one thing I'll say though, and I think it's important. It's a very important caveat that this was our first competitive match. Mm-hmm. In a preseason that was so light, Tammy Abraham had 45 minutes of friendly action in the preseason, and this was, granted, he was our best performer, so that again, worked out quite well for him. But like Orkun, right? Like it was his first appearance
but isn't that also on the club and on the coaching staff because they decide when they?
Well, so that's my question. Right? This was my main question. Is like whoever. And this, I'm not necessarily ready to put this on Ole just because I don't know who's responsible for this, but whoever's in charge of establishing the preseason schedule and deciding we're going to play 4 friendlies and start at this time, and even like to some extent the quality of the opposition, right? Like, I don't think we really properly tested ourselves.
But the quality of the opposition in preseason is really not that important because, like Ole rightfully points out, mainly.
But I would have liked to have seen our starters get a run, where like they're playing through the half, right? Like you saw in that last match against an opponent where it's like, okay, like we're kind of getting their best. And who they are is like a caliber where it's like comparable to what we were seeing perhaps in our first competitive match.
But like,
which again, that would require some scouting on their part.
Shakhtar played Ilves last week Thursday, and in between they still played a friendly, or even 2. I'm not sure. Yeah. And they also, leading into those Ilves games, they played about 5 friendlies or so, I think. I tried to check on FotMob, but they are not listing the friendly matches there, unfortunately.
Like, we should be playing a friendly midweek this week. And sure, maybe you rest some key guys, right? Yeah. But, like, there are some players who, like a Demir Ege, perhaps, or, there are guys I want to see them, like, step up and perform again, like they had previously.
I definitely think that, look, I think this game was always going to come early, and it's we were used to this from Turkish clubs in general, that they really struggle in those early qualifiers. Usually you play against a lot weaker opposition in those early qualifiers, but because of how poorly we have done in Europe in the last 5 years, our coefficient is so bad that we drew a top team. Normally you would think, okay, we're gonna play a lower level Europa League team. It shouldn't be a problem for us. Okay, maybe we're not 100% ready. Maybe we're at 70 or at 80%, but it should be okay. Probably more 60 to 70, 60, let's call it 60, 70%. We should be able to beat a lot of teams at that, even without a winger. Although it makes it a lot more difficult, of course. But then, of course, you come up against Shakhtar Donetsk. And look, Shakhtar had a bad season last season. They finished 3rd in the league, in the Ukrainian league, which is really, with all due respect, a league with 2 teams. If you think about it, it's kind of like the Scottish Premier League. It's like Rangers finishing 3rd in Scotland. That's kind of Shakhtar finishing 3rd in Ukraine. Proven by the fact that they haven't finished outside of the top 2 since 1997. Over 25 years they haven't finished outside the top 2. So, I mean, look, they had a really bad season last season, but they also invested heavily last January. They spent 36 million euros in last January's transfer window on young new talent, and those young new players had 6 months to settle in at Shakhtar. And now they're reaping the rewards of that. So yes, they're a team that only made one transfer this summer, but really they brought in like 5 really good Brazilians in the last 6 months or so. So, you know, like, on top of that, you know, I think they really had the advantage with Arda Turan really knowing Turkish mentality really well, knowing Beşiktaş really well. And clearly his game plan was on point. And for that, I 100% think Ole deserves to be criticized. That does not mean you need to chop his head off and fire him, because I think one of the biggest issues alongside of the abysmal recruitment in the last couple of years for Beşiktaş is we keep firing coaches at a whim. You know, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, okay, at the point I was saying even, you know, fire him, because I didn't see a way out anymore, you know? But now we're in a situation where there's still like 45 days left in the transfer window. We have plenty of time still to continue to rebuild the squad. And genuinely, if we can get 2 good wingers, a backup striker, a number 6, and a right back, I know that's a lot. That's 4 players. That's 4. You know, that's 3 starters and a backup. That's a lot to ask. Or is it 5? You know, a 6, 1 winger, 2 wingers, backup striker, and a right back. So it's 5 players. Sorry, 4 starters and a backup. That is a lot. Don't get me wrong. And especially because it has to be quality. So those are going to be players, unless they're and that is one of the
wingers,
that's one of the and that's
right back.
And that makes missing
2 wingers. Oh, yeah. 2 wingers, a 6, and
that
right
makes
back. Okay,
that makes missing out on players like Kyle Walker-Peters and even Osai Samuel painful, because those were free transfers, those were free agents. Now maybe we're gonna have to look at another Jurasek solution where you're going with a loan with option or obligation to buy or something like that. So it makes things, you know, a little bit more complicated. But anyway, if we can get a good 2 wingers, a good backup striker, a 6, and a right back, that's when you can start judging the coach. I think, okay, yesterday he flunked, but it's like, you know, you do tests throughout the year, right? Like, he has done multiple tests. He passed with an A+++ against Athletic Club. Then, okay, he failed the Twente test, but was it really like his test? I mean, it's tough to say, really.
Like, that team was so...
exactly. You know, he passed the Fenerbahce test, he passed the Galatasaray test, he passed the Trabzon test. Okay, at the end of the day, he didn't finish 3rd. That was a bit of a failure. But also, we kind of got robbed with that disallowed semi-goal. So there's just been some failures there. But what do you expect from this team? Last season, we were...
And it's important to note, right? Like, we were so bare bones that, like, one injury could make our team so weak, right? Like, we were playing... At the end of the season, we had Amir Hadziyametovic as our...
And we
not only our starting
bottom.
6, but, like, if he got hurt... Well, who would have played if he'd gotten hurt? Because Ox was the guy that was playing ahead of him.
So to expect from a team that was at absolute rock bottom to then suddenly just pass all the coming tests with flying colors, that's just unrealistic. So up until now, if you look at Ole Gunnar Solskjær's report card, I think he has more passing grades than he has failures. So right now, I don't think you can flunk him, you know? Like, he's still passing at the moment. Now, it doesn't... I've gone on record to say, I don't know if we're going to win championships with Ole Gunnar Solskjær. But I think he deserves the time and the opportunity to see things through. And, like, for example, people calling for his head now, people... Oh my god, the Channel Gunners edits and stuff like that, man. Really?
Oh, come on, not again.
No. They're coming out of the walls, man. They're like, God. Seriously, like, it's just like...
And look, dude, there's another thing, too. You know, you were talking about how, like, last year, you know, eventually you'd wanted Giovanni van Bronckhorst fired, too, because there was no other... You saw no other way. But a huge part of why I think you felt that way, and certainly that I think a huge part of why I felt that way, was that our fan base gets so toxic at a certain point, or even if you think, you know, maybe this guy could figure it out tactically or whatever, if he gets a better squad in January, whatever you might think to defend him with, you know that the fans are going to make it impossible.
Oh yeah,
you know, like.
But that wasn't for me.
Right?
That wasn't
like the fans are a huge part of the problem.
That wasn't the main reason for me. For me, the main reason was I had the impression that Gio had thrown in the towel, was mentally checked out, and didn't see a solution. Yeah. Because he wasn't really... I
mean, that Maccabi match was...
He wasn't trying things. He was like... And there were reports that he had already offered his resignation and stuff like that. So, like, again, you know, reports, you have to take him with a pinch of salt, but you could see it in his body language and all kind of stuff. And with Ole, I find, like, also last season, when things went the wrong way, he was always tinkering. He was always trying new stuff. Even in this game, Sinan, he did tinker. He did try new stuff. Like, you know, starting Gedson as an out-and-out winger. I don't know if they actually did that last season. I know Kaktel said against Hatay he played on the left, but I don't remember if he played as an out-and-out winger there. But, like, anyway, he's tinkering with things. And still, he is still very much dealing with an incomplete puzzle. So, like, to judge him right now is still unfair. And look, that is not the same as me saying we will definitely be successful with Ole this season if only he gets his the players that he needs, but he deserves to get that opportunity. And I will remind the people who are calling for Sergen, who are calling for Channel was the one in charge when we got fucked by Club Brugge 4-0 at home, wasn't he? Or was that Serdar already? I don't remember. But like Channel
No, I think it was.
Channel has his fair share of European embarrassments. Genk 1-4 at home was also under Channel's watch. We got eliminated by Malmö in the Europa League group stages on the last match day. I mean, like, Linz, we barely squeaked past Linz. Like, because, like, I've been having this argument with people. Like, I don't think right now we are a UEFA Europa League level team. That doesn't mean that in the Europa League there's going to be, what, is it 34 or 24 teams? I think it's 34 teams. There's gonna be a lot of teams in there that aren't Europa League level either, that we could probably beat quite handsomely. That doesn't mean we're a Europa League level team. When I say a Europa League level team, I'm talking about a team that's realistically going to go to the quarter, maybe semi-finals. That's not Beşiktaş right now. I've said this since day one. I think Conference League is where we belong right now. I think in the Conference League...
Yeah, that's not the tragedy.
Yeah, I think in the Conference League, if you do make those transfers, you do get two good wingers, you do get a good backup striker, you get a good number 6 and a good right back, I think you have a genuine chance at winning the Conference League. Assuming, of course, everything clicks and all that kind of stuff, which is a big, big if, because chemistry building takes time, obviously, right? But still, on paper, I think then we become a favorite for the Conference League. But in the Europa League, you know, Jose Mourinho said it the other day. Fenerbahce is not a Champions League level side. They're a Europa League level side. I think the same thing is very much true for us. Right now, we're not a Europa League level side. We're a Conference League level side. And I don't think there's a shame in that. Of course, you know, if we would have drawn an easier opponent than Shakhtar, I don't think I think we have a realistic chance of making the next round. But still, even if we were to eliminate Shakhtar now, our next opponent is probably Panathinaikos. That's not easy either. Those are, you know, that's
it's probably harder. Actually.
No. Shakhtar is definitely
Maybe
is definitely the harder opponent easily, but Panathinaikos are no weak pushovers either. You know, like with all due respect.
Because I hear that they were holding their own against
Rangers.
Who were they playing?
Rangers. Yeah.
I hear they're holding their own until they conceded. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Rangers, you'd say, is probably a step above Shakhtar, right?
I wouldn't say so. I think Shakhtar right now is probably, yeah. I mean, if I saw that Shakhtar side yesterday, I don't think Rangers do that to us. I don't think, no. I mean, having said that, I mean, obviously Rangers fucked Fener last season, but still. But
dude, Udral. Oh my god. Hey, let's go to the chat.
Yes,
huh?
let's go to the chat. Yeah.
I'm going to start at the most recent ones. Don't worry, folks. We're going to go through all of your comments. But I wanted... we have a new commenter, Serhat Kavas, who is talking about what we're talking about. But real quick, I'll mention the financier. Carlito said, the team is off tomorrow. Well, you guys are talking about having a friendly before Shakhtar.
Wow.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, they're going to have a day off, I guess, right? Tomorrow is Saturday. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay. I'm just going to put that out of my mind for a moment. Serhat, though. So Serhat says, problem with Ole is he had enough time to show something impressive. Build at least one game plan that I'm going to do some teach editing, that is satisfying to watch and help us get results.
He's done that.
Alas, no light on the horizon.
No.
He said he's like a NFL special team coach. If transition football is needed, he is right there. rest of the 30 games he's not.
Yeah, but that's
why would we keep such a coach?
Serhat, how can you expect him to build a team that's able to break down opponents when you don't have wingers? Do you think Şenol Güneş is going to be able to do that? Do you think Sergen's going to be able to do that? No, they're not. No coach is. Nobody is going to be able to do that. As long as your winger is number 7 and Gedson or Muçi, because Muçi is terrible on the wings. Like, the only thing you can, which is a genuine criticism.
Muçi was actually really bad yesterday.
Yes, of course, because he's shit on the wing. He's not a winger, and he shouldn't be seen as a dead player for the wing. That is why we need 2 starting quality wingers, and we need to start utilizing Kenny properly, because Kenny, like Santana yesterday, he has those qualities. He has pace. He has the ability to go past his man. He has a decent delivery. All the things number 7 doesn't have. So why? This is one of the only things that I think is a very, very, very genuine criticism on Ole. Is why are you not playing Arroyo? You are choosing to play Rashica. That is to your own detriment. But
to go back to Serhat's comment. Sorry, go ahead, Khan.
No, but other than that, the criticism Serhat is giving here is extremely unfair because Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wasn't able to break down teams. Şenol Güneş, when he came back, he wasn't able to break down teams either. The only reason we won a significant amount of matches in the first 6 months under Şenol back was because Abubakar was scoring world-class screamers from outside the box and stuff like that, was doing magic stuff that we haven't had that. But even then, we still had Nkudu. Who else did we have? We had Gezal kind of a little bit,
late stage Gezal.
Yeah, Gezal in and out, but we still kind of had that. Like, now we don't have any wingers. We don't have anything. We have no quality on the wings, except for Kenny, and he's not playing.
Problem too,
that is on Ole, but other than that...
Yeah. No, but the problem also with what Serhat's saying, in my opinion, is that as... to piggyback on what you're saying, obviously, you're not giving him the tools to succeed with, right? He can build a game plan around like the one strength we have, but it's so easy then for our opponent to try to do everything they can to minimize that one strength of ours and force us to rely on a guy like Rashica having like 1 out of 12 good matches, hoping it's that day, or that Masuaku will find that 1 out of 36 crosses that's going to actually find his man, or whatever it was.
And even bigger
than
the winger issue as well. I'm not bigger, but equally as big. I think one of the biggest issues as well was we didn't have a proper tall striker in the box, which was a real issue for us to breaking down teams as well. And I think even though not having wingers is gonna be a big issue going into the Super League too, but with Tammy, I do think you're going to do better already because you actually have a tall striker in the box. But of course,
But even beyond that, though, Khan, the big thing that really derailed Ole, like at the end of last season, right, was our lack of depth. Because suddenly, right, we have Tayyip playing as a right back, and then there's the game that really fucked us the most was a game where we were playing a 3-man back line, and so this is speaking to you, Serhat, right? He's shown flexibility, which was a huge knock against Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He's tried everything he can in his power to use whatever shitty tools he has access to as best he can. But like in that match, we had Svensson and Masuaku on a 3-man back line with Tayyip in the middle because of how depleted we were by injury. Yeah. So I don't think you can say that Ole doesn't have a solid game plan, that he's not flexible, that he's not willing to work with the pieces he has to give us the best result we can get. Yeah. I agree with Khan that Kenny should be playing, but despite that, I don't think we've had a single coach in the history of the club where there haven't been disputes I've had with the decisions they've made. I mean, even going back to I remember Bobo. I wanted so badly for Bobo and Holoshko to play together in a 4-4-2. Even great coaches, I've debated decisions they've made
of course,
about
100%.
Personnel choices.
Lucescu had this little fetish with Yasin Sudin, which I didn't understand. Like, and
I remember that.
Every coach has those things, and you're not going to agree with all the decisions they make ever. That's just never going to happen. And that's like, I don't agree.
Exactly.
I don't agree with Ole not picking Kenny over Rasica. I said it again. Number 7, penny in the jar. But that's like.
And then as far as this last comment, so Serhat responds. He says, "Well, he should be more needy to the board, but he's acting too nice. Big coaches are needy. Check Jose. He decided to go play 3-5-2, and he asked players instantly to build it. He cannot go far with his attitude. He is risking his reputation with being nice." I think, given the nature in which he was hired, the sort of the team building they've been doing with the back room, with Edward Graff, I forget the guy's name, Vic. Adali and he seem to have Adali and he have a very strong rapport.
Yeah.
I don't think that what he's doing in the back, or that he's not being kind of quote unquote needy. I think if anything, he's being professional by not undermining his boss.
I think
out loud.
Yeah, that's
the idea that you want him to complain about the job his boss is doing.
Exactly.
I don't think that's necessarily productive. I think you hope he's lobbying for the right things
the thing
when
is,
he has the opportunity.
You can't say that because you don't know it. You're not behind the scenes. You don't know what goes on there. And to expect him to throw the president under the bus publicly, what does that do? That only creates more chaos. That's not good. It's not prudent. That's not going to enhance anything. If anything, that's going to strain the relationship between your coach and your president. And I'm pretty sure that he has certain assurances from Settle Adala. And at the end of the day, Ole has to be patient, just like we have to be patient. And like I said, the transfer process isn't easy. Look at any other club in the world. Look at Manchester United right now, one of the biggest clubs in the world. They are struggling to bring in players. They are struggling to sell players. It's not easy, especially if you're in a situation like us and like Manchester United. We're in a very comparable situation. You say he's too nice, but yes, he is a nice guy, clearly. But also, I have heard from very reliable people who know him a little bit better than we do that behind the scenes, he isn't that nice. Like, he is a nice guy by nature, but he is also somebody like who can be really strict with his players. And I think we've seen glimpses of that in post-match interviews. Like, for example, the last friendly game where he said like, very few players convinced me today, or proved me wrong, or whatever. Yeah. And we've seen like his outburst on the sideline when Demirege got tackled really nastily. There's a mean streak there, and like the career he has had as a player, you can't be successful like that if you don't have a mean streak in you. So this outward persona that he has of being a nice guy, that's really not a valid reason to say he isn't good enough as a coach. We'll have to judge him based on his performance as a coach once he gets the tools that he needs to be moderately successful. At the moment, I don't think he has the tools to be successful. If you give him what we named earlier,
he's being set up for failure.
Right now, he is being set up for failure. And again, look, I am not saying he is guaranteed to be successful. But the problem is that in the last 4 years, every single coach, and look, Valérien Ismaël, I'm not saying he would have been successful, but Valérien Ismaël, he did have some quality. Like I think he had Redmond right, he had Weghorst, he had all that kind of stuff. He didn't really succeed, but Giovanni Van Bronckhorst last season, he was given two really good, he was given Rafa, a great player, Ciro Immobile, who we all thought was going to be a good player, but turned out to be a little bit of a dud. But he didn't get wingers. He has incomplete. No. And I've been saying we've been looking for wingers for the longest time, but I forgot we had Redmond. Channel Gunesh had Redmond. But the last 2 years, we haven't had proper wingers. We've only had Rasica. Give us Redmond last season, and we probably finished third easily.
Much better.
Even though he's not a.
So Serhat says then he should play with different wingers, even take from youth team and show the board that their transfer picks are. Don't forget, last year, one of the most fateful decisions he made was playing Jakub Arda Kilic, which he got so much shit for.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think you can say he hasn't done that.
Yeah, he has done.
And it
He
backfired.
has tried a lot of different things, and you say he doesn't, but he has tried so many different things. He has tried different formations. He has tried different, people in different positions. He has experimented a lot. He has experimented more than any other Beşiktaş coach has in recent years. And I think.
And I have to fact check this last point he made, but sorry, go ahead, Con.
I think for the most part, you're just criticizing to criticize right now because you're angry, and I understand that, Serhat. I think we're all angry after the last 2 seasons, which were terrible, but really the last 4 seasons, like it's been really grim supporting our club. Not just because we haven't won. Okay, we've won a couple of trophies. It's not because we haven't won a championship. But it's mainly because the football, for the most part, hasn't been fun to look at for 4 years. Even, when Shakhtar Donetsk came back, we had a good run point-wise, but the football wasn't good. We were saying back then the only reason we're winning games is because Abubakar keeps scoring worldies. And we've had and we've had a couple of highlights like the Cup final, the Super Cup, a couple of very fun derby wins, against the 2-4 away at Fenerbahce with Redmond with Redmond's hat-trick of assists, the 3-1 at home against Galatasaray. Now this season the both wins against Fenerbahce, the win against Galatasaray, the win against Athletic Club, the win against Lyon. Those were singular highlight results, but for the most part, the football we have been watching for the last 4 years has been really, really poor. It's been underwhelming.
Hard to watch.
It's hard to watch us trying to create chances without wingers. It's one of the most. It's one of the It's like I've said it so many times. Like pulling teeth. It is so unfun to watch. Like, yesterday's match was just. Soul destroying. Soul destroying is the word, I think.
Especially because we had energy coming into the new season. But just real quick, I want to fact check this last thing. So Serhat, I mentioned this earlier. I rewatched the game last night. He says yesterday Rafa and Rashida were arguing with him on the pitch about his tactics. This is a red flag for a coach. No, nobody argued with him actually.
He was giving instructions.
Rafa came to the side. Exactly. Rafa came to the side. Ole pulled him aside, told him what to do. Rafa, he was like, oh, so I should do this and that. He was like, yes. He went back and did his job. Rashida then was coming over and like, oh, should I da-da-da-da-da? And he was like, no, man, you got to do da-da-da-da-da. And he said, oh, I should do this? And so then the sideline ref was like, dude, you got to stop talking. We got to start the game up. So the sideline ref was trying to hurry them up. And Ole was getting frustrated because it seemed like Rashida wasn't understanding. Rashida came to ask him a question. He told him what to do. I think Rashida struggled to maybe understand it. So he was kind of yelling dude, no, you got it, da-da-da-da, whatever it was.
He was probably just frustrated
nobody
with
was arguing with him.
How shit he is. But then
he was playing,
then you shouldn't play him. But also, if you notice, after that, Rafa actually goes out to the left. So that just confirms what Simon's saying. Those are tactical instructions during a water break. They weren't fighting on the pitch. So you're even imagining red flags just to be able to say something. I feel I think you're being really unfair.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to single that out, just because I think it underlines what you're saying. Where people are looking for
Serhat,
problems.
If you're gonna talk about red flags, Shakhtar Donetsk falling out with player after player after player, Roman Saiz, Masuaku.
Or we were talking about Nathan Redmond. Grey Wolf says right here, we had Redmond, and for some reason, Sheno didn't even play him that much for some time. True. And it's right. It's absolutely correct.
Don't forget, he didn't. He was playing Onur Bulut over Rosier. He was benching Masuaku. He fucked up.
That should be blasphemy.
He fucked up Roman Saiz. I don't know if you're one of those channel sexual, Serhat. I'm just assuming here right now. I apologize if you're not. But most people who are calling for Ole's head right now are people who have an ulterior motive with where they want Sergen or they want Sheno. Thank God. Thank God. Okay, look, I understand. I understand the frustration with Ole. I'm not saying he hasn't made mistakes, but I do feel like what you're saying is unfair because he has, from the last years, he has been the tactically most flexible coach. For example, if you take Valérien Ismaël, he was sticking with a certain approach that he wanted until he was told by the board to switch it up. Channel, very rigid game plan, didn't make any changes. Sergen, once the wheels fell off, didn't turn anything around, ended up quitting. Who else have we had? Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, like I said, threw in the tole mentally.
His lack of a B plan was his biggest
his lack of a
criticism,
B plan was a big
Plan
criticism.
B.
And I think for Ole, he always does have B plans, but you have to take into consideration.
He's got a B, a C, a D.
Yeah, but you have to take into consideration, Serhat, what are his options? His B plan options. Mustafa Hekimoğlu, a really shit Semih Kılıçsoy, like Tayfur on the wing, maybe? I don't know. Like, what are his options really? Like, what option? Yesterday, the only guy that came off the bench that had an impact was João Mario. Every other player who came on had, Kartal was decent, but it's not like he had an impact, right? Like, we do not have a bench. We don't have anyone to come off the bench other than João Mario to impact the games. Maybe Kenny actually, but he didn't use him, and that he deserves criticism for. But like, we have such a bad squad right now. That is why we don't need just one winger. We need two wingers. Then we need a backup striker, so that when one of
you just made up another stat. He said 11 weeks or something. We struggled to get a win last season. I don't think we went 11 weeks without a win, even under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. 11 weeks would be crazy. No, we don't need to make up stuff, bro.
Let's fact check it, Sinan. Fact check it. I mean, there was a period for sure where we.
I don't.
Especially under.
But never 11 weeks. 11 weeks is like.
Under Gio, I think.
Like 3 months.
I think we got we had a long stretch under Gio where we didn't win matches, and under Ole we had 6 games that we won. Then was the Fenerbahce game, I think, and then we didn't win for like 4 or 5 games, I think. So there's definitely
but not 3 months.
Not
3
not
months,
11 games.
wild.
No. I don't know where he's getting that from. But these are these types of things. Like it's like, player X makes 2 million, and people start making it into 2.5, and before you know it's 2.7, and before you know it's 3.5, and it's like these exaggerations start leading there. I don't know. I mean, you also have to keep in mind, like. When he took over last season, we were at absolute rock bottom. We were in a free fall, and he did put that train back on track, and he did get us back into the European spots. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were only even in contention for third because of what he did, right? And yes, we slipped up.
The competition, the rivals for European spots also fell off. They dropped, a lot. Eyüpspor weren't playing as well anymore. Başakşehir started dropping points. Well, actually, Başakşehir came back and then started dropping points, and Samsun started dropping points. So, our direct opponents made things easier for us. But we were still in 6th or 7th place when he took over, and we hadn't won a match in a long time. And he turned it around. And yes, there was, of course, after the initial up from the new manager effect, we had a down period. But we also can't forget. Beat Fener, beat
injuries and lack of depth.
Beat Bilbao, beat Galatasaray, and that Galatasaray win. You know how historically significant that is. Preserving our unbeaten championship, the Tek Namalup Champion. That is thanks to Ole and his game plan. So to say that he doesn't have tactically, yesterday he fucked up tactically. But that is one of the first times I can remember I really criticized his tactical choices. Yesterday, his tactical choices weren't good, clearly, and
even still, it wasn't like Giovanni Van Bronckhorst against Ajax. He didn't totally wuss out, and play negative football or anything like that. There were some decisions that weren't correct, but he was also not necessarily set up to succeed. Ajax. You look at the end result, and
Ajax were
ruthlessly efficient.
Yes, and Ajax weren't very good, and we just gave them the win. We just gave them a free win, essentially, Ajax. That was different. I don't think that's what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I think we just came up against a team that were much better than we were, had a lot more individual talent than we did. Mainly, also, you have to take into consideration Orkun playing at 70%, Abraham playing at 70%. And you can say, okay, but then he should play somebody else. But then who should he play, right? Then you have to go with what? Kartal Kaira? Right? That's your option then. And then you have, Kartal Kaira, I like him, he's a Super League level player at the end of the day, right? Like, he's not a European level player at the moment. Like, he hasn't proven to be that. Without Abraham, then you start with Simi? Like, so our options are very, very slim. Let's see. Cut number 7, cut Gedson, even cut Rafa if he sucks. What I want to see that he wants something and do everything to get it instead. Again, he is too nice. But I mean, is that like an example you're making? Because Gedson genuinely was our second best player yesterday next to Abraham. Rafa, okay, wasn't very effective yesterday, but that's also because they were marking him with 3 people all the fucking time, man. Like, that's something, You like, if you take Rafa out of the match, you put, say, Kartal there or something. Yeah, okay, then then what happens? Then they just gain 2 extra free men essentially. It's just, he is tough only to Simi. Well, Simi has had ample opportunity, Serhat, but he just hasn't done anything. And I agree, like, he's...
Also, you don't know what's happening in the background. Like, maybe Semi, and it sounds like he's a terrible trainer. I mean, he's been gaining weight like crazy. He looked like the Wario to his previous Mario.
And I only agree with that he's overly critical of Arroyo in the sense that he's not giving him enough playing time. But Elan Ricardo, we don't really know what happened there. He had illness and all that kind of stuff, and he criticized him that he wasn't working hard enough, essentially. Mucci, when he was giving Mucci a lot of playing time, then Mucci got injured, then he came back from his injury, and then he gave him playing time again, and then he got injured again in the last match of the season. That's why he missed the friendlies, and that's why he probably didn't end up starting. But even, like, Mucci, like, are we gonna say now Mucci should be playing? Have you seen him last season? Right. So at the end of the day, it boils down to the fact that he...
Certainly not on the wing.
At the end of the day, it just all boils down to the fact that we don't really have a good squad. We are lacking quality. We have a couple of really good individual players like Rafa, like Orkun, like Tammy Abraham. Now, Gedson, I would consider as a really good individual player. But that's kind of where it stops, and we are lacking the quality in a very key area of the pitch, which is the left and the right wing. We should get to some other comments now because,
Yes, let's go to the top.
Yeah.
Let's go to the top. So we had Matt Ventures. Hey, all. Bubbles here. And I don't know if your name is Matt or Bubbles. But if you're a Patreon contributor, I am definitely going to call you Bubbles if you start in the final at the end of episode shout out. That I would gladly call you Bubbles. Grey Wolf, I know it all. It will take time for the new additions to click, but as we've said in nausea in the group ad nauseum maybe ad nauseum I think. In the group chat, he wrote "in nausea" though, which is funny because I do feel a little nauseous.
Might be intentional.
I am in nausea.
Yeah. I think we all are a little bit.
In the group chat, same shit as last year and prior years, just same shit. Yeah, and by which you mean same problems, which we still haven't solved. Yeah, I really hope we get a fucking winger like yesterday. Yeah. Atil Malak. Good to see our resident Pope in Rome via Chicago, just like the Pope. Yeah. Oh shit! Here we go again. All that build up for that comment. Mustafa Gedik, is that a new name? I think so. We used to throw in the towel in November, but now we've already thrown the towel in July.
Nah,
don't worry, Mustafa. Look, Mustafa, think of it this way: if you agree with us that perhaps the Conference League is a more fitting place for us to be, you could argue that this is just something of a friendly. I mean, it was really the first time where you saw our full, as close to what we'll have as an A team, minus the pieces we're still missing. But, in a way, this was their first performance. It was their first competitive match. Even though it was just Ilves, as you were saying earlier, Khan. I mean, they've still played. Like it matters.
It
to
matters,
play
of
competitive
course,
because that means they played. Right, they were trying to play 90 minutes. Yeah. Like they couldn't sub out the whole team. 50 minutes through or whatever.
100%. And I believe Ilves. I don't know if they ended up beating. They were playing a Dutch side yesterday, and they were winning at a certain point. So I don't know if they ended up winning, but I'm gonna look that up. But yeah.
By the way, these Finnish football club names are legendary. Ilves sounds like a villain from Lord of the Rings, and then you've got Kaiju, who was also relevant to us. Which, if anyone's an anime fan, a Kaiju is like a giant, like Godzilla is a Kaiju. So,
wait, so
that's fun.
So
good for you, Finland.
Ilves was playing against AZ Alkmaar yesterday. So that's a team that beat Galatasaray last season, and they won 4-3. So that's a team that, if I'm not mistaken, they beat Galatasaray in the Europa League last season, AZ. Correct me if I'm wrong. Might have been the season before that. But, I mean, AZ is a really good side in the Netherlands. And Ilves beat them 4-3. So the fact that Shakhtar beat them 6-0 means something. It's not just a clown side from Finland, you know? So, I mean, and at the end of the day, like, you also have to take into consideration the fact that we are up against Shakhtar right now. It is thanks to Sergen. It is thanks to Şenol Güneş. It is thanks to all those coaches who failed in Europe the last couple of years. They are all part of the reason. Yeah. And look, they had their own struggles with the team. None of them had a perfect squad. None of them had perfect conditions where, some of them had to deal with players not getting paid for a long time. Others had to deal with an imbalanced squad as well, like Gio did last season. But at the end of the day, like, everyone shares blame here. It's not Ole's fault that we drew Shakhtar. You can argue it's Ole's fault that we didn't finish third last season, but I would argue it's Mehmet Türkmen's fault for disallowing Simi's clean goal on Kenny Arroyo's assist.
That beautiful assist from
Kenny. That goal would have secured third place for us. So, I mean,
not to mention, I think you could also blame whoever is responsible for putting this team together, not just this season, but last year too, right? Because again, right, it was that faulty makeshift back line that produced some of those terrible results.
Sometimes things get decided by details. Literally, a disallowed goal cost us third place last season, but also like in the game against Samsun in our own stadium, they cleared the ball off the line in the last minute. I think a semi header or a semi shot, he cleared off the line in the very last minute. So details can decide that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can say, okay, it is kind of all his responsibility that we didn't finish third, but you could also say we are in Europe thanks to Ole. So it kind of just depends on how you look at things. I mean, has he been the perfect coach so far? Has he not failed? But of course he makes mistakes, but I think every coach makes mistakes. And at the end of it,
I mean, at least you like that he's like trying shit out, like willing to make mistakes in some way.
I wanna be able to judge a coach, and frankly I don't give a damn who the coach is. I want to be able to judge a coach who gets to work with a decent. It doesn't have to be a perfect squad. It doesn't need to be perfectly balanced, but it needs to be a decent squad. That's how I want to be able to judge a coach. And right now, Ole doesn't have that, and Giovanni van Bronckhorst didn't have it last season either. The balance was way off. So it doesn't matter what you do in that regard until you get the squad sorted out. You cannot, in good conscience, properly judge a coach. Of course, once a coach is mentally checked out and throws in the towel, then you have to fire him.
Then it's over. Yeah. But it strikes me, and that's something that it's hard for me to imagine a guy like Ole quitting. He seems like a competitor still in many ways. He's still out there on the training pitch, by the way. If you notice, he's always still kicking a ball around. I wonder if he wants to be our backup striker. Anyway, Grey Wolf. What pissed me off even more is the complacency of the players just standing there watching the other side, just passing to each other. Our players just standing there watching, doing nothing. No urgency, just same old laziness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was laziness yesterday, man. I feel like there was plenty of commitment. I feel like it was just like they didn't know how to solve the issue of not being able to get the ball. I feel like we were... I wouldn't say we were standing around at all. I feel like we were constantly in motion, constantly chasing. But we were chasing after the fact constantly. We couldn't get the ball. It was like unreachable for us. Like we were just getting ticked around. Like prime tiki-taka Barcelona would tick around their opponents. Like it was there were like, you know, there was obviously that 3 minutes before the third goal, but there were periods in the game before that, many periods in the game before that, where like they had the ball for over a minute and we just couldn't get it off them. How many recuperations did we have? Like, I can't remember a lot of good steals on our side. There was one that I remember was Rasica, number 7, shithead, actually managed to steal the ball, and then he followed up with a horrible pass. Like
penny in the jar.
Yeah.
I the more I think about it, and I really, even like watching it the second time carefully, I really got the distinct sense that we were hurt, especially by the fact that this was our first game. We were kind of caught flat-footed. Yeah. Like you said, we were a little like whoa, what the hell? These guys are serious. It's like, well, duh, it's competitive football. But I mean, it was those first game jitters. Hopefully, we'll see a lot more on Thursday. Obviously, we're not going to see any personnel changes, sadly. But that's not.
It's really tough, I think, when you know, I would say Shakhtar definitely had a big advantage here by having those two. You know, I'm not gonna call in this warm-up games against Ilves. Like again, you know, Ilves clearly not a terrible side because they beat AZ, but I mean, you know, they had the advantage of playing against a somewhat less competitive opponent than us, you would think. Although, I mean, you know, they ended up drawing 0-0 in Ilves, but they rotated a lot. Like they have that advantage. And I think you're always going to be more ready if you already have 2 competitive games under your belt. Regardless if we would have started at our training camp 10 days earlier, I still think it is inevitable that they're going to be more ready than us simply because they have 2 competitive games under their belt. Because competitive games, there's nothing that compares. Like a friendly match can never, ever, ever compare to a competitive game. It just can't, you know? Because the intensity needs to come from both sides.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I mean, that was I mean, to further that, it clearly was a distinct advantage for them.
Yeah.
I really hope we'll see. That's why I was saying yesterday in the group chat. For those of you, again, this is a good segue to remind you: like, follow, subscribe,
and scan the QR code.
Tier. Yeah, scan the QR code right there to gain access to our group chat and WhatsApp. Become a premier tier subscriber on YouTube, Patreon subscriber. We got all kinds of great content for you folks. And if you're not a subscriber, you should know that we just today, Con, dropped a interview with the Dan Robson, the writer of ghostwriter of Atiba.
Actually, Sinan, I was being interviewed.
Yeah, well, that was how it panned out.
Yeah, no, well, that's.
But on how you perceived Atiba and like how. Yeah,
it was. That was a chat I had with the ghostwriter for Atiba Hutchinson's book back in 2023 when he was writing the book. He asked to speak to me to give him information on Atiba's time at Beşiktaş and all that kind of stuff. And he used that information for the book. In fact, if you own the book, you go to one of the last pages. There's a little thank you there for me. I'm mentioned in the book, which is
it's
really
funny because
cool.
he reached out to me too on Instagram, and he was like, "Oh, we've got to get together. Like, let's do this chat." And I was like, "Just like write me your questions. I'll write you back." And I was like, "And really, you really want to talk to Khan Bayazit?" And he didn't write me back for like a month, and he's like, "I already spoke to Khan." And it was kind of like, you know, I think he sensed that I was like, you know, I don't really want to do the whole like live conversation thing. So he was like, all right, I'll just get info from someone else. But now I feel bad now that I know like what the end result of it was. Anyway, Carlito said, evening all. Nasser, hey guys, good to see you both always. You too, sir. Nasty Nas. That could be my new nickname for you.
Nasty Nas.
Nasty Nas. Because There's a rapper whose name was Nas, and which is short for Nasir, and he went by Nasty Nas.
Okay.
Carlito, the more you comment, the more XP is gained. Oh, he's talking about these crowns.
Yeah.
It was funny. Like later on, like when Nasty Nas was defending Ole against Serhat's sort of slander. I mean, maybe that's being.
I don't think it was slander.
Dramatic, but,
I understand.
Yeah, it's being dramatic.
I think.
But anyway, but as Nasser was commenting, he went from like number 3 to number 2 to number 1 in like subsequent posts. So he's hitting it up.
Yeah. I mean,
But
like,
yes, Carlito,
I understand.
you get XP.
I understand the frustration that fans are feeling, and at the end of the day, one of the frustrating things about football is transfers and squad building, all that kind of stuff takes time, right? And there's no easy, quick fixes. And one of the easiest, quickest fix in football, perceived quick fix in football, is firing your coach. So that is something that people automatically go towards when things aren't going quick enough. And I understand that, but I think we also, as Beşiktaş fans, we need to learn after the period we've gone through that we need to start having a little bit of patience, because a rebuilding process takes time. And it doesn't mean that Ole is the one to take us to the promised land, but we at least need to allow him to cook and build for a while, like we allowed Slaven Bilic to cook and build for a while, and then it was back then Şenol Güneş who took us to the promised land. But I don't know if Ole is gonna be the one to do it. Maybe he's the one to lay the foundations, but at the end of the day, we need stability right now, and firing him at the moment, at this point, would be very detrimental to the club, because it would completely and utterly fuck everything up. The other day in the group chat, we had somebody saying that the board should resign, and they should resign now because then there's still a month in the transfer window. And I told this, I think it was Dennis. I told him, look, I'm sorry to break it to you, but like, that's not gonna happen. If, let's say, the board resigned today, like, we would have a new board at like maximum in a month's time, because whoever wants to run.
But also, let's not forget the clown who ran against him. Like, you gotta. Oh, and that's another thing. I always remember, like, when people are always calling for a coach's head. I always want to remind them, like, what do you think is coming next, right? Because if you're not a fan of Sergen or Şenol, and you have some genuine, like, squad growth, you want this and that to be better. Like, who do you think is gonna come next?
Yeah,
you always have to.
Who is it realistically gonna be, right? Like, who's gonna come in right now? Preseason's over already. The season's about to start. Like, you're gonna have to go for a Şenol Güneş or a Sergen, and then, like, look, last time around, Sergen didn't want to come. Okay, he had a very legitimate reason. But like, he also told the coach, like, this team is gonna kill us. It's gonna eat us alive. This team, like, it's not just because of the passing of his brother and him being on his deathbed at the time. It's also simply because he knew this squad isn't good enough. And I hate to break it to everyone, right now we still have like 70-80% of the same squad as last season, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe even 90% if you really, because like,
I think that
we haven't done much as far as getting rid of people. Sadly,
I think the Tammy
Masuaku was gone.
Yeah, the Tammy Abraham change is pretty big. I think
Cheeto.
That's a big change.
Yeah, that's huge.
And
that's huge.
I do think that, like, look, like, our rebuild, we needed a lot of quality. I do think, like, I do see Kaira and Demir Ege as new transfers. I think Demir Ege with a very valuable season in Portugal under his belt, because, like, our friend Evran lovingly called him Bambi on ice 2 seasons ago, and rightfully so, I think. Yesterday, very often, especially like in Europe, he'd look like a deer caught in the headlights. Yesterday, I kind of got that sense again, and I do think that it's down to the sheer quality of the opponent we were up against. So I don't want to be overly critical on Demir Ege, but like, and I do think Demir Ege, if he ends up staying, will have a role to play this season, a positive role. But I don't see. I'm sorry, but like, he's not a starter right now, especially not with Orkun. I think you need a different profile of a 6.
And if he is a starter, he's got to earn it. You can't just slot him in there, right? You need someone who he has to push for that role. Yeah. And like, because we saw him play really well against like scrub teams as in friendlies, but yeah, he's got to earn it, in the limelight.
Of course,
I think, for sure.
It's not, he has proven himself at Rio Ave, but he hasn't proven himself at Beşiktaş. He has to start all over again now. So that's also in part why, in my opinion, it would have been better for him to get sold. Because look, right now, I much rather have Demirege for squad depth than Ox and Amir and Salih. But for his career, I think it would be much better for him to leave. Because I think that he's going to... I think he's going to get playing time this season, but... How much, I think once Orkun is at 100%, Orkun is going to play 90 minutes most games. And I think once the number 6 comes in, that guy's going to play 90 minutes most games. So then really, where does Demirege slot in, right? Like, I don't know if he's going to get a lot of playing time this season. I think it's, in hindsight, would be much better to, maybe stick with Kartal and let Demirege leave, but then who are you going to have as the backup?
At least maybe loan him out again then. Yeah. Maybe now he could actually, you could kind of guarantee he'd even play.
Selfishly for the team, I would keep him, but for his career and also for his value, we should sell him or loan him, I think.
Yeah.
But I think if you loan him now, then you loan him with like an obligation to buy for like 12 million or something, right?
A hefty one.
Yeah, not a 5 million one like last time around, because I think he has shown enough. And
he's up the ante for sure. Yeah. Carly just says, with enough XP we can buy new players. Yeah, we wish, Pat.
Lil Nas.
Nasser, I don't think we were... We'll get to that. I don't think we were bad tactically, to be honest. Ole made a smart switch in the second half, pushing Gedson centrally, which helped. We started strong in both halves, but couldn't sustain it. Yeah, and I mean, I think we've analyzed this match to death. We don't have to go too far into it, but yeah, I mean, you look at the stats, and their ruthless efficiency in front of the goal definitely helped them, because it's not like we did nothing. We weren't feckless. We created chances. There were a number, like Gedson, if he just shot that ball, on that breakaway. Anyway, he says, we had a slightly higher XG than Shakhtar and were quite even overall. Just too many individual errors. All 4 goals felt avoidable. I don't know if we were quite even overall. That might be a little friendly to us.
The first goal,
because they were frighteningly
I think
efficient.
The first goal, you can argue, was avoidable because it's a deflection. But the second goal, avoidable, yeah. If you can't catch him, then how is it avoidable, right? Like he's just breezing past you, like you're not standing there. And the third goal is very similar, although it also takes a deflection, so maybe a little bit unlucky. But it was just too easy. The way they got past us time and time again, and it wasn't
hanging it around.
Jurasek gets highlighted because 2 or 3 goals came over his side, but Svensson was getting destroyed by Keven as well, man. Like Svensson,
I hate to say it, but Svensson was rated the lowest in my.
It was a very poor performance by Svensson, and
maybe it's worse than in our jersey, which we've said that before.
He's had a couple of stinkers, usually coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
But this one wasn't coming off of an injury, and beforehand in the build-up to the match, the commentators were saying, well, against Athletic Club, Svensson was able to hold off, what's his name, the wonder kid from Bilbao,
Nico Williams.
He was able to contain Nico Williams and put him in his pocket. Yeah, yesterday his pocket was ripped wide open, and
his pocket was full.
I think his phone was laying somewhere on the pitch because that pocket wasn't.
There's change spilling out.
Yeah.
Making Sonic the Hedgehog noises as he ran.
Maybe he still had Nico Williams in it, so he didn't have room for Keven anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. If only he'd brought him to Beşiktaş in his pocket, maybe that would have solved our left wing problem. Anyway, we're taking this metaphor too far, I suppose. Nathan Davis, good to see you, Nate. Nasty Nate. We got a bunch of nasty Nate. I need my engagement on loan. But I'll have the XP to justify it next year. Oh, he's talking about this XP is taking over the chat, cunt. New season, same old garbage. Finish, not the Swedish kebab. New season, same old garbage. Yeah, well, especially if you consider Rashid the garbage. Nathan Davis, if Gedson doesn't close off his angle on that breakaway chance, it's a different game. Or if he just shoots it a little sooner. Nasty Nas, trying to give Jurasek the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he needs time and support, but defensively he wasn't good enough. First goal could have been a pen. Second, he got beat too easily. Fourth, he kept Shakhtar onside. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about that. I think people are being a little too harsh and not factoring in his positive. Also, that last goal was just a classic garbage time goal. I mean, yeah, he did keep him on, but that was rough. They were just pushing,
defensively, not gonna lie, I'm getting some Roberto Hilbert flashbacks.
Oh, don't go! Oh, you don't want to. But he's much better going forward.
But he's much better going forward. The ball. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think he's a very similar profile to Hilbert. The only difference is that Hilbert couldn't cross the ball worth a damn, and
I was going to say too. I think that was your biggest knock.
That was my biggest knock.
Yeah, was his crossing.
That's the reason I didn't like Hilbert, because every cross was 90% of the crosses ended up in the stands instead of terrible crossing. But yeah. Like Rasisha, very similar to Rasisha, very bad crossing. I said the name again.
Hilbert. Oh, that's like 5 pennies in the jar. I would say that Rashica and Hilbert are very comparable. The more you think about it. Although maybe Rashica would have been better as a right wing back too. I don't know. Jurasek needs to be paired with a winger who tracks back and helps defensively.
No,
he's too exposed on his own.
No,
that's also. I mean, or we just need a better a right back who can just sort of shift the line and whatever. There are lots of solutions.
I think
to that
ideally, problem. I think for the Turkish league especially, I think you get a more defensive right back, kind of like Svensson, but someone in the prime of his career. Because I think Svensson is kind of
maybe a little more physically imposing.
I think Svensson's age is slowly but surely starting to catch up to him a little bit, and he's very against faster wingers he struggles. And I think if we can get somebody more in the prime, a real physical specimen, that's what we need. I think somebody that can slot into that, like you said, that right center back role a little bit, and then we just. In possession, we just switch to a 3-man back line and just have Jurasek almost a free role on the left, and then it falls more to Felix or Emirhan, whoever's playing that left central back role, to kind of cover that.
Well, and to be fair, as far as playing someone more defensively minded on the wing, right? He played Gedson yesterday, so it's not like maybe he even had that thought in mind to some extent. But
I think Nasser even said that Gedson didn't really help out Jurasek enough defensively in the first half, and then of course in the second half he was shifted to midfield. So that's another thing, right?
Nasser, just curious.
Sorry, go ahead.
You can finish that.
Well, there's another thing with a proper 6. You can also have that 6 kind of...
Yeah, he'll add coverage for sure. Yeah,
exactly. And then, you can have the right back move into the central area, the 6 move out left, and Jurasek up top. There's plenty of options to cover for Jurasek's defensive deficiencies. However, right now, we don't have that 6, and we don't have that more ideal right back. We don't have a left winger, and we don't have a right winger, and we don't have a backup striker. So much that needs to be solved before we can start judging both Ole but also new transfers, right? Because at the end of the day, the new guys and also old guys, they're only going to shine as bright if they are surrounded by the necessary quality. The same thing is true for Rafa. If you suddenly have 2 strong wingers that are going to demand plenty of attention from your opponent's defense, Rafa gets more space. Rafa isn't marked by three
exactly.
guys at the same time, constantly getting double teamed because they have to watch out for winger A and winger B as well. So they can't afford to spare an extra man to constantly be on Rafa. You know, so it opens up.
Yeah. Not to mention maybe Orkun eventually. You know, and if we can get. By the way, if Jens Kajust is truly like out on the prowl now, right? He's left Napoli on his way to whatever this next club is.
Very curious, right? That he like. I wonder what that like. I mean, he didn't leave on a free.
Is that good? Maybe.
I mean, I think it means.
Is this good? Because the shadiness. Maybe is this.
Well,
is this maybe is he coming to us?
I think
because right there's all this. Adali was this whole thing about not leaking. You know,
well,
maybe.
I think it at least to the very least implies that. Like he is moving really soon, right? Like within the next 48 hours or something, you would think, right? Because why otherwise do you write a farewell post already?
Yeah, no.
It doesn't really make much sense. And I can see it. Did he post it on Twitter or something? Do you know where he actually?
Yeah, I think it was on Twitter.
I'm gonna see if I can find it because then I'm gonna actually bring it up because he did make a social media post.
Here.
Oh, you got it already, or what?
No. I was going to say, you go look for that, and I will read more comments while you do, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead. Nasser, just curious, lads, what are both of your expectations this season? Personally, I don't think we've got the quality to seriously push for the title or make a deep run in Europe. Khan has already said, since he's looking for that thing, I'll answer for him, because he's already basically said that we... You know, depending on the moves we make,
that decides.
They will
everything.
Determine if we, right, if we can make a run at the title, or if we're competing for third place.
I think the title is just something we shouldn't be thinking of. Like if we get into a
not realistic.
If we get into a position where somehow in March we find ourselves within striking distance. Then we can start thinking and dreaming about a title.
We can dare to dream.
But right now, it's like we have to think about first and foremost, third place. And then second place.
Let's just get a competent squad together. That's what I'm thinking about.
I think it's way too early to do anything like that. I'm not really seeing where he posted it, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll see if I can find at least a tweet about it.
Maybe look for his name on Instagram.
I was looking on his Instagram, but I didn't see it. Maybe he posted it in a story or something. But I'll see what's.
Yeah, check his stories.
I'm just gonna get the.
Nasser Khan just wanted to say I really like the background template. Looks clean. Yes, this is our Europa League template.
Yeah, don't get used to it.
Don't get too comfy here.
We played a friendly today. Apparently, Sinan, did you know about this?
Yeah, apparently we played Banderma. Well, I was gonna read. So actually, let's save this because Carlito said something about it. Grey Wolf, I didn't know about that, and it pisses me off. I would have wanted to watch it, but I don't even think it was on. I don't think it was available to watch. Grey Wolf, number 7. I like how we've normalized this. Couldn't even give a forward, straight, short, easy pass on the ground, which could have been a breakaway pass. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, the one to Tammy.
Oh,
to Rafa. Was it Tammy or Rafa? I don't remember exactly.
It was on the side to Rafa. I mean, Rafa ended up getting to it. But
there were 2 passing opportunities. I think there was at least one to Tammy as well, that if was played through properly, he could have been through on goal.
I wouldn't.
I'm not finding it though. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but like, I don't know if you saw this, but some pieces of shit that you know, they're not fans in our eyes, but supposed Beşiktaş fans like racially abused Keven on his Instagram, like via direct messages, and this is the difference between Beşiktaş and Fenerbahçe, because Fenerbahçe was it last season when they played Shakhtar and they got knocked out of Europe, and their fans were chanting Putin, Putin, Putin at the Shakhtar players. Remember that?
Yeah, I was proud of us for not doing that.
Yeah. And this is the difference between, back then, instead of condemning that, Fenerbahçe were like, typical Fenerbahçe, they provoked blah, blah, blah, blah, blah bullshit. Not the, we are Fenerbahçe, we don't stand for this, none of that. Typical Fenerbahçe, of course. But the nice thing now is like Beşiktaş actually issued an official statement condemning these racial abuses. So that is the difference,
Good.
The difference
between
Beşiktaş and...
That's good.
That's good, yeah.
That's great.
I agree, yeah.
Grey Wolf. Oh, the new rumor is Nuri was in the stand. Who's Nuri?
Nuri
and he's a candidate to replace Ole.
Nuri
Nuri.
Shine. Yeah, Nuri Shine.
He's a candidate to replace Ole if he's fired. It's unfortunate, but it seems Ole is going to let go quickly if there is poor showing in the next few games.
I mean, look.
Don't read too much into bullshit.
Look,
get off Twitter.
I mean, look.
That's
look,
my advice.
I think one thing is clear: if Ole, loses against Kayseri or drops points in the first couple of weeks in the league, if he has gotten his transfers at that point and then he fucks up, obviously he's gonna get fired at a certain point. But I think that getting eliminated by Shakhtar does not impact his future whatsoever. At least not right now. I think he's gonna get a shake by Adala. I mean, Adala has a lot of riding on this as well, because you have to imagine firing him is admitting his own failure, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm just still looking for this goddamn Jens Kajust news. Because it's not on...
I'll go back to the comments.
Yeah.
I was just reading about this thing.
This is a news bit from Calcio Napoli, so I don't know if it's actually reliable, Sinan, but here's the tweet, and I'll do you one better and translate it as well. So I can't
say where I'll go and play, but thank you for all the love you've given me.
Yeah. So supposedly a goodbye message from Jens Kajust to Napoli. So
please come to Beşiktaş, please. I want him. Okay. So maybe after the second leg, he says, as far as firing Ole for Nuri. Come on, Huzur, you're smarter than that. That's the solution for everything: is fire the coach and blame the coaches, not the administration. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either way. Carlito, haha, what is Nuri going to do with this team? Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Give him no wings and see what...
I mean, look... and look at...
That's the problem, nothing.
Look at Nuri's stint at Dortmund, right? Like, he was very heavily criticized for his unattractive football style there at Dortmund, where they have certain expectations. And Dortmund, you can't say they don't have wingers. Like their squad, okay, maybe it's not a perfect squad either, but like at least they have quality in those key positions. So not being able to get some decent football out of that is more damning, I think, than anything Ole has perceived to have come up short on right now. I'm not saying Nuri can be a good coach. He's still only Nuri's 36 or something, man. Like he's super, super young. But
maybe he's the Turkish coach for our staff. That would be... I would welcome that.
Oh, sure, yeah, of course. But I doubt he would take that role. Although Giovanni Van Bronckhorst took an assistant coach role at Liverpool, so...
With Liverpool, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he could see that as like a stepping stone, right? Like he would be obviously like the interim coach if, the next time there was an opening.
Yeah.
Food for thought, but I don't think that means anyone's getting fired. Everybody needs to relax. And by all accounts, Adala and Ole are pretty tight, so I don't think anyone needs to hit the panic button yet. So if this performance is the norm for the rest of the season, where will the team end up at the end of the season? 4 through 8, 4th being the top. We've already sort of done that conversation a few times in various ways, shapes, and forms. This is still Grey Wolf. Let's be realistic. Assume we get Kerem and stick with what we have. What's the ideal lineup and what position for the current squad, including Kerem? I mean, it would basically be what we saw, but with Kerem playing on the left.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally Kenny on the right, but whatever.
Ideally Kenny on the right.
Then the question is...
I mean, Sinan, I would argue... I mean, I don't know how good...
Maybe you play Rafa on the right?
That's the thing. I don't know...
And then Gedson?
I don't know exactly how good Kerem is on the right. For Galatasaray, as far as I remember, he always played on the left. So, Kerem on the left, Rafa maybe on the right. Although the problem is Rafa, when he played as a winger, always played on the left as well. So you kind of run into an issue there. Yeah. So if you bring in Kerem... this is not ideal, but you could move Rafa out to the right, and then you put Orkun on the 10. No, you put Orkun.
And then Gedson
on the 10,
in the 8.
And then you put Gedson as the ball winner next to a number 6. I think that.
Okay.
I think
I like that.
I think Orkun on the 10 would work ideally, of course, because that is Orkun's favorite position. But then,
and he's like a double-double guy.
But it's kind of a little bit of an issue with Rafa. Then look, when Rafa and Orkun played together at Benfica, Rafa had his most productive season in his career. Last season for us was his second most productive season in his career, so that was his most productive season in his career. So obviously, Orkun, Rafa works well together. Orkun played in the 10, Orkun played as the 8. But Orkun was...
Who was their 6?
Well, Orkun was playing as a 6 earlier in the season. That's why he got really upset with the coach at the time, Roger Schmidt. And then he was pushed up a little bit to a more advanced role. But anyway, so it can definitely work, Rafa and Orkun in the same lineup. The problem is that I think both of them prefer to operate from that central role closer to goal. And the thing with Orkun, some of his major strengths is his playmaking ability, his passing ability, and his shooting from distance. And the closer you get into goal, the more you're going to get out of him. The more return you're going to get out of him. So the further you play him away from goal, the less goals and less assists you're going to get most likely. So in an ideal world, Orkun plays in the 10 and Rafa plays on the wing probably. But then the question really becomes, who right now is your best player? Is it Rafa or is it Orkun? So to whose strengths do you want to play the most? Who do you handicap the most by playing them in another position? Do you handicap Orkun more by playing him on an 8 rather than a 10? Or do you handicap Rafa more by playing him on either wing rather than behind the striker? That is the big question that you need to ask yourself. So I think there's possibilities there with Orkun in the 10, Gedson on the 8, and then the new number 6. And then obviously Kerem left and then Rafa probably right and Abraham. Then you only have to really get one winger, essentially. But I think what's realistic is probably Orkun on the 8, Rafa behind the striker, Kerem left, and then, I hate to say it, but number 7 probably on the right side until Ole finally comes to the conclusion that, look, it's been enough and we need to start playing Kenny over him. And I hope that comes quickly because I can't take much more of watching that guy. It's really, once it makes me want to gouge out my eyes.
Batsiar is gone, by the way.
What's gone?
Anyway.
Sorry, what's gone?
Batsiar, apparently. Batsiar, Zaynutdinov.
But is he actually gone though?
No. Apparently his dad said that it's like he's actually in talks happening probably. So.
Okay.
Anyway. Where are we in the chat here? How many coaches have come and gone with the same bunch of turds? So if this performance is the norm, we already did that. How long does it take to cook your... let's be realistic. Assume we get Kedem. We did that. I do not think we are going to sell Gedson. It's in question now, for sure. When rumors came out for number 7 offers, he immediately shut it down, saying he's happy with us, and if we want him gone... Oh, we did that already, too. Let's just face it. We are stuck with these players until their contracts expire in 2027.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Carlito, we have to cut our losses with some... We earn in Turkish lira and pay in euros. The cost for the rejects will be higher if we keep them instead of paying them off. The FX rate is already higher. Take the loss now. You said his name, Sinan. Hey, that's not my rule, man. I didn't sign up for this game. Huzur. Carlito, build in a clause to deduct the wage they will get at a new club or something, but waiting is not an option anywhere for the likes of Ox and Onana. Grey Wolf, is number 7 blackmailing someone in the administration? I think someone else asked a similar question. Yeah. Grey Wolf, I felt if we pressured the goalie and he becomes number 1, if we pressured the goalie more, he would have cracked. At least yesterday, he seemed shaky, especially like on the press.
Tammy was pressing him really, really hard, but like the follow-up press wasn't good enough. You know?
Yeah, exactly. From the wings.
It did feel like one of those games where you could catch the goalkeeper in a mistake, for sure. Like, there was a moment where he almost pulled a Fabri, where I think it was Hasic, the shithead, that came from the right side, and Tammy from the center. And
shithead.
That's what. It's either going to be number 7 or a shithead. No, I'm just going to call him number 7. I don't want to be too disrespectful, you know. At the end of the day, I mean, like, nothing against him as a person.
He is a player, I guess. Yeah.
It's just about his ability, and I really don't like his ability as a player for us. Sorry, it's not enough.
Same.
It's not enough. And the problem is that
Sebastian, the not sporting director. Oh, go ahead.
Well, the problem is just that is it Sebastian or Sebastian Heinaf? Because there's a difference.
I think it's Sebastian Heinaf.
No. If it doesn't say Heinaf, it's not him.
Oh, really?
We remember we had another Sebastian.
Oh yeah, the other Sebastian.
Yeah,
the other Sebastian. It's definitely not the sporting
How
director.
cool is it that we have multiple Sebastians watching the Black Eagles podcast
with the same spelling too?
Yeah, I mean.
So this Sebastian says Solskjær said that Jurasek will make lots of assists this season at the press conference after the match. Do you believe it? Yes, I do. I do. If you
saw almost every single center he gave in this match was either cleared in a dangerous manner where it was put out into corner or something, like it was like last grasp, foot against it just before somebody else could tick it in or something like that. All his crosses were quality. If you compare that to last season's Masuaku put in a very high volume of crosses, like I said earlier in the show, but like most of them like sailed over everyone. Like Jurasek goes more for low crosses, but that also results in more danger. So I do agree with what Ole is saying. I think Jurasek is going to get a lot of assists this season. He might not get 10 like Masuaku did this season, but I also don't think that once the wingers come in, I don't think he's going to be our main source of attack like Masuaku was last season. So I don't think, I made this point about Masuaku that in a normal team with a normal balanced team, he would never get the opportunity for the volume of crosses he was able to give now. But I do think Jurasek is going to get a lot of assists. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 6 to 7 assists this season.
Great.
And he's also his set pieces are apparently also not bad, by the way. So
he was setting up next to Orkun.
Yeah, and that's also something one of the few bright spots this match. Now, I don't know if you noticed it, but our set pieces.
Yeah, our set pieces were better in general. Yeah,
dangerous. They struggled a lot with our set pieces. Granted, I don't think they had a particularly big amount of height in the team. It didn't strike me as a team with a lot of giants in it. So maybe it was mainly down to.
But I mean,
that.
it's worth noting we scored twice on set pieces against Admira Vacker as well. Like it does seem like it's something we're working on, which you love to see.
Yeah, but also like with Orkun, you actually have a specialist now. Kartal is actually also a set piece specialist. So now we actually have people who can reliably kick that ball, And now, and with Tammy, we have at least one extra tower. And Felix, I think Felix had a header that he almost scored from a header on a corner. There was
he hit a post.
Yeah, there was the contested penalty position with Gabriel Paulista. I didn't think it was a penalty, but it did. Again, that was panic mode from the opponent there. So they are struck.
Did you see the defender afterwards, dude? He was acting like he should have been called. He was like,
no, I didn't.
He had a face like
he made a mistake. I didn't rewatch the game either, so maybe your opinion is different. Maybe you think it was a penalty. But I think what is important is that there was a lot of panic on our set pieces, which is something we didn't see last season. Teams were always chokrahat, very calm, very composed when we had set pieces because they knew we can't do shit with set pieces. But now, this game, there was panic, there was chaos on all our set pieces. I think they were lucky we didn't get that many because I think if we would have gotten some more corners, we definitely would have scored on a corner. The penalty we ended up getting was also on a corner, So yeah. I think it was actually was it not Felix who headed it and then the guy handled the ball on the Orkun corner? So.
Yes, and that header would have been a goal too if he hadn't handled it.
That's the thing. Right. I was wondering he should at the very least get a yellow. I was thinking this should be yellow or red, right? But he's not on the.
And he called him to the side like he was gonna give it, and then it was weird.
But the thing is, he wasn't on the goal line, so you.
Yeah.
So it's not a red, but it is actually the rule. Unless they changed it, the guideline for referees, if a player handles the ball headed towards goal, it's a penalty and a yellow card. It does not matter whether it's intentional or not. It can be incidental. It's always a yellow card. That is, I don't know if that is still the guideline. 2 years ago, that was the guideline. I know that for a fact. So I don't think he got booked. So I think the referee kind of made a mistake there, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that it would have mattered, but it's still, you know.
No, well, maybe. You know.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
No,
yeah,
it wouldn't.
Maybe. You never
Maybe
know.
he gets another one,
Maybe,
right?
you never know.
Because of the fans, the club is probably going to get fined and perhaps a home match ban. I hope they're not.
No, why would they?
Can the club start?
You're not going to give a home match ban for that. Nothing of
He says-
significance happened. It's a couple of things.
Can the club start finding the players every time they concede an early goal? At least prevent conceding a goal within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, but okay. But then I was gonna say, what's an early goal, right? Like, but within, I agree. I kind of agree. Within the first 60 seconds or within the first 90 seconds, if you concede a goal from kickoff, essentially, yeah, then you probably deserve a fine. But you have to think. A lot of these players, especially defenders, have clean sheet bonuses, right? So, you know.
It's the opposite. They're not getting paid.
So conceding a goal is already a fine in a way, you know.
Atiljan Malak, very quick way to hit legend status for Tammy, banging a hat trick in the next round after that quote. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be some Sergen-esque baller move. It's a shame, really, that you could.
I'm gonna skip some.
You could tell that both Orkun and Tammy weren't 100%, but I really, really liked Tammy in the first 60 minutes. Man, he was such a breath of fresh air. Like, it feels like it's been such a long time since we had a striker like that. It was. I can't remember. What's the last time we had a striker who had that quality? Like, Weghorst had it a little bit, but he didn't have that passing game. Like, he had that ability to be a target man and to hold the ball, but the way Tammy was passing it as well was like, you know, I don't know. I can't think which was the last striker that had that particular ability. Now he just needs to score a bunch of goals. I don't know if he's going to have that ability, but at least as a target man, he seems really, really good.
It's looking
early
good.
Days,
yeah.
Of course, early days.
I'm gonna skip a bunch here. The whole argument with Serhat.
Yeah.
Nasser. One thing Nasser said that we didn't read at the time. He said Ole has said it loads of times in the pressers that we need to find clubs for these players. After the last preseason game, he literally said most didn't impress him. It doesn't sound like someone being nice. He clearly wants most of them gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, what else can you say? Because you still have to coach these guys until they are gone.
Yeah, I mean,
right? You still have to play them and get the best out of them. What good does it do to slag them the way that someone?
He also said, look for the training camp, it was very useful to have 35 players because that way you're able to play multiple games back to back and stuff like that, and play 11 players every time. But for the season itself, it's too much, and these players need to go, essentially. That's what he said. For the preseason, having 35 players is fine. But normally, 35 players, you just bring a bunch of kids. But now we had a bunch of, surplus players, I'm going to call them, players that need to go. And but I think that is not I am not as urged in that as most of you guys are. Like, a lot of you guys are like, oh, you should just cut the ties right now. And look, I think that you can practice patience in there as long as we don't go down the Ahmed Nurchebi route of, oh, but this player needs to go before we can sign a new one. As long as we don't get that bullshit, I don't really care. They can leave. They can all leave at the end of the window. There's some people who are saying, yeah, but if you're gonna release somebody, for example, Ox, at the end of the window, why don't you just release him now? Well, my argument against that is I would much rather have us pay him 500,000 euros this year, 500,000 euros the next year, and 500,000 euros a year after that, instead of paying him everything right now. And in fact, if you just tear up his contract right now, you have to pay him 3 million. You have to agree first. You have to agree to a settlement, because otherwise you have to pay him in full. So it's easily said, oh, we just want these players gone, just tear up their contracts, but then you're ending up playing ridiculous amount of money. And we were talking about this earlier, like, we aren't paying anything for Orkun this season other than his wages. And there's a reason why we have constructed our deals in such a way so that we don't have a lot of outgoing transfer revenue right now. If you go and end up, and I know it's booked differently in the accounting, but if you end up paying Ox 3 million, and you end up paying. I think Amir has 2 years left on his contract, and he's on 1.2 million, so that's 2.4 million, so that's 5.4 million already. Then you end up tearing up Onana's contract, who definitely still has 2 years on his contract, 1.5 million euros, another 3 million. Then you're already paying 8.4 million euros just to get 3 players to fuck off. You're far better off finding a compromise with Ox, loaning out Onana with hopefully a very low option to buy or whatever, and you know, you have to find solutions that make sense financially. You always have the option, if you really need to terminate them at the end of the window. You can do that. There's no need to rush it. There's no point to it. These players who realistically don't have clubs who are going to pay fees for them, it doesn't matter if they leave now or they leave at the end of August or whatever. There's no importance there. The only players that is a little bit more worrying are the players with actual value or perceived value. Mucci, Musrati, Semi. Those players, you want them to get sold for a decent fee. So you wanna learn something as soon as possible. But like I said, with Musrati, he's probably option C at a lot of Saudi Arabian clubs. So if their option A and B falls through, then they'll come knocking for Musrati. But that could take a little while, you know. And Mucci, there's been no interest rumored at all whatsoever. And the thing is, with incoming transfers, I think we are gonna be trying to keep things quiet. But when it comes to outgoing transfers, there's obviously going to be the clubs who are interested and you know, the people who have sources at those clubs, the journalists who have sources at those clubs are going to report on that most likely. So you would expect those bits to come out. So it is a little worrying that there's actually no news around Mucci and very little news around Musrati. Semi obviously has the Cagliari link right now, but that deal is currently on hold apparently because of some issues, but we'll have to wait and see.
The issue might be that we need a backup for next week.
Yeah,
match.
That's what I was thinking.
We don't even have because you can't register a new player.
That's what I was thinking as well, actually. Yeah, it probably is something like that. Yeah.
I mean, especially with Mustafa injured. Anyway, Grey Wolf says Sheno had Redmond that he didn't play. Ole has Kenny that he does not play. I mean, as much as I think Con and I both want Kenny to be playing, I feel like not playing a guy like Redmond, who's like in the prime of his career and was brought in like
was 29 years
the option
old,
as the starting option as a winger, right? Like that, like a different level of not doing the right thing.
I think it's both bad.
Yeah, but different levels.
But with Kenny,
that was the Redmond is worse.
With Kenny, the frustrating thing about Kenny is you just want to know why, and the problem is you're never gonna know until it's too late. So let's say he's lazy in training, he doesn't work hard in training. I'm not saying that's the case, but let's say that's the problem. Realistically, we're never gonna hear that until like
after the fact, until
Ole's
gone,
or until it's too late or something like that. That's not gonna leak most likely, because Ole isn't gonna tell anyone that. He doesn't want to, he's too professional, right? We're never gonna know that until it's way after the fact, like you said. And that's frustrating because right now we're just left guessing, right? Like we don't know why he's not playing. In his cameos that he does play, he shows quality. In the friendlies that he played, he showed quality. And it's frustrating because number 7 doesn't show quality.
Yeah. The Vigilante Turk. I have never seen him comment live.
He's
just dropped an eagle emoji.
He's commented live.
I always call whenever I'm doing the shout out to the end, like I call him the Punisher, and then I say the Vigilante Turk. Because, like, for me, that's, like, the iconic kind of vigilante
Not hero. Batman? That's, like, the most...
See, I was going to say, I think I should probably start rotating, and just every time I'm going to try to think of a new vigilante. Because, like, there's Batman, there's Moon Knight, there's Daredevil. I mean, there's so many good vigilantes out there to be shouting out. So I'm going to get you on a rotation Pay attention to that, folks.
Yeah.
When I do the when I do the
see,
call out
I
at the
see
end.
that. Okay. I see. No,
Got any rumors out
I
there?
saw that that Nasser dropped a Fabrizio Romano tweet, but it's not.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know, I'll read it. Ruben Amorim on Sancho, Anthony, and Garnacho. If they reach a point where they have to join the team, they will join the team because they are our players. If the club doesn't get the right price, they will stay. I am ready to receive the players. Okay. I mean, you know, that's a desperate attempt by Man United to force clubs' hands, I guess. But I mean, you know, Jadon Sancho seemed to be off to Juventus, and that didn't materialize.
And it fell through. Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe
Interesting.
you never know.
Maybe we'll get him.
He's a left winger. I mean, you know, like the price tag of Kerem and Sancho is probably quite close. It's more the wages, I think, that would be an issue. I don't know what Kerem makes at Benfica. You know, the rumored wage that Sancho was gonna get at Juventus was only 5 million a year, which is a lot of money, obviously, for us. But like, I was surprised by that because the rumors that you read in Turkish media is that they wanted like 10 million a year or something to play in Turkey. But I don't know.
Yeah. Then we had Nasser. As long as you don't call me Little Nasser X. That's
Lil Nas.
Lil Nasser X. Balaram, good to see you back, sir. He says, "Hi lads. There's no such thing as a wingless eagle. Hopefully,
exactly.
we'll have our wings soon."
We are.
I like that, and yes.
Yeah.
A poetic way of articulating a profound problem for the club at the moment.
Yeah.
Nasser, you've got a United.
Sinan, do you remember that striker Kubilay Kanatsiskush?
Yeah, of course.
Remember? Yeah. So literally,
He's still around,
yeah,
right?
his name literally translates to wingless bird. You know. And that's essentially what we are
like
right
a
now.
turkey.
We are a Kanatsiskush right now, right? Like we have no wings.
We're a penguin rather than an eagle.
Yeah,
is what you say.
yeah. We're a clipped
Flightless bird.
A clipped chicken is what we are at the moment.
We're a coq sportif. Is that what you're saying? Anyway, you've got Nasser. You've got a United legend who finished third and second with his hands tied, plus a top assistant in Erling Moe. If those two can't get it right, you've got to start questioning the wider issue.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people can't get it right, but yeah.
I mean, the problem is the fans are very frustrated right now. The patience is at an all-time low. And like I said, the easiest thing is to just change managers again. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters until you sort out a squad. Like, you can't expect success if you can't sort your squad out. Like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The calendar, got to change to Friday. Yeah. Beleram. We lost Shifo Mehmet and he was supposed to bring the new transfer. Yeah, I think Serdar Adale dropped his phone into the water when they were doing that that coin sequence.
I think somebody the other day posted like a meme where Shifo Mehmet is like that one movie with Tom Hanks where he's like stranded on like a desert island with a volleyball with Wilson. That's Shifo Mehmet right
Wilson. That's hilarious. Yeah. He like with the transfer, they're probably both stuck on that. Then we have the Vigilante Turk. Thanks, sure. Emre Kilic, final comment. Boy, we're going on 3 hours again. We always manage to do it, don't we? He says, Beşiktaş must urgently part ways with players who have become accustomed to failure. Yeah, that's a good way. That's a great comment to leave things on. Yeah. Insofar as I think we all agree, it's obviously a challenge and we can't just like snap our fingers and make them leave. But, I mean, look, like Rashica for me is a guy who... I mean, there were a few times where he got great lead passes and he just made the wrong choice. Like he either like ran off course, like hoping the ball would kind of keep rolling his direction, and the defender just like got there and took it instead because like that's his job, or just like there are some individuals who seem quick to put their head down, but I don't think many of our current think about our current starters, right? Gedson, 100% effort no matter what. Yeah. Both of our guys on the back line, same. I think you can say, frankly, even like Paulista, like his problem is his injury history.
Yeah.
Never what he's doing on the pitch. No. He was probably our third best player yesterday.
He's maybe a little slow sometimes, but like he makes up for that with his experience and stuff. So like,
and in fact, he made one great tackle running back and sliding out.
I'm at least happy that people aren't like, at least I haven't noticed, but like after yesterday, 2 deflections off of his knee, like fans were
people aren't talking shit about Felix.
Yeah, exactly. People really had it out for Felix last season, so I'm happy at least that's not happening yet.
And because I hope people realize that those balls were deflecting because he was one of those guys who was out there putting in 100% maximum effort, right? Like, so I mean, I agree with you 100%, Emre, that we need to get rid of some of these rotten apples. But I would argue that a lot of them aren't the ones who are on the pitch regularly, except for maybe Rashid.
No, but I mean, I've made this argument.
But like a Sali, right? Like maybe a Sali. Maybe they're guys in the training ground.
Exactly. I've made this argument in the community. I think I don't know if I said it on the thing, but you also need to keep in mind, like, look, you have a squad of, let's say, 20 odd players. And so you're in practice, you're training against each other, you're playing 5-on-5, sometimes maybe 11 versus 11, that happens rarely, but sometimes it happens too in training. You're playing, 5-on-5, 7-on-7, whatever, but you're playing against your teammates essentially in training, like you're competing against your teammates. Now, if you are up against Necip in training, and you're up against Amir, and you're up against Musrati, who stops working, you're up against Salih Uçan, who puts in, who puts in 60% effort, that's not going to, like, if you don't have competitive training sessions, like, you're not going to get the best out of your team, because your best players get better if they compete against good players in training, if that makes sense. So, like, if you're playing against Necip, with all due respect for who Necip is, but I'm sorry, that's not a good sparring partner, so to speak. If you're boxing and your sparring partner is like 20 times worse than you are, like, you're just punching him in the face all the time. Like, you're not actually be able to practice blocking and dodging, and and it's not difficult to hit him either. So like, you're less tested to find openings in his defense. Right? It's the same thing in football and training. If your opponents in training aren't of anywhere near your level, then your level is, over the course of the season, going to drop down. That's, I think, what happens to a lot of good foreigners that come to Turkey is, first couple of months they are still reaping the rewards of training for Juventus or training for Manchester City or for Liverpool. But once they're there for a couple of months, then they're playing against Sabri Sariolo and Necip every week, and then the level starts going down a little bit, So, I mean, all of that plays along. So Emre is definitely right that we need to start cutting ties with those players. But that also includes guys like Tayyip Talha and Necip, who got emotional contract extensions because of who they are, or because they've been dealt a bad hand. But like, Emrecan Uzunhan, Necip, Tayyip Talha, Salih, these are all players that do not deserve to be in a Beşiktaş jersey in 2025.
I still have questions on Emrecan Uzunhan. Anyway, one last question. YouTube Beşiktaş Haberi is reporting Kerem is flying to Istanbul. Sorry, incorrect. Never mind. Thanks, Huzur. Huzur is the king of erroneous Twitter links. Although that was a YouTube one, I guess. So that's my bad. Last one. Yeah. Emre says they don't deserve Beşiktaş. I cut that off, though. I will give the last one to Nasser, because I think this is actually the perfect ending point. He says, one last question for me. Prediction for next week. I'll let you go first, Khan, because I'm going to do my end. My screaming.
Oh, it's a tough one. I think we're gonna maybe. I think it's, I wonder because like Arda against Ilves in the second leg rotated like 8 or 9 players, but obviously they won the first leg 6-0, so not much that can go wrong there, right? I don't think he's gonna do that now because I contrary to his players, I think he still knows it's not over because at the end of the day, Beşiktaş are not Ilves, with all due respect. So I think he's probably gonna field his strongest team. Whether or not those players will have the motivation, the same motivation they had yesterday, is another question. I definitely think we will be more motivated. I think it's gonna end 1-1.
I was gonna say I think we're gonna win. It's gonna be 1-2. We're gonna score a late winner that's not gonna get us through to the next round, but it's gonna make us feel a little bit better about life in general.
Maybe it will be good. It will be good for our coefficient as well.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that the last?
That's maybe my wishful thinking.
Was that the last
I'm usually a little bit pessimistic. Right? I closed them. Yeah. Because Grey Wolf went off on. He gave us an erroneous link, but
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm gonna plug quickly, guys. Head to. First and foremost, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not watching live, please do drop a comment. It helps tremendously for the algorithm to get the episode out to more Beşiktaş fans who are like us, maybe skilled in the English language, right? Like, help us expand the international Beşiktaş community. Become part of that international Beşiktaş community. Take out your phone. I have a old, you can't even see what kind of phone I have here. I have an old iPhone XS that really needs to be replaced, so I'm gonna hopefully do that in the next couple of months when the new 17 comes out. But take out your phone, turn on your camera, scan that QR code on your screen right now, join us in our WhatsApp community. It's very lively, very active. Sometimes people will say a little bit too active. You might want to turn off the notifications because otherwise you're gonna get ping, ping, ping, ping, ping all the time. It's very active. It's a fun community. Mostly positive, fun conversations, no toxicity. But of course, after a game like yesterday, it can get a little bit doom and gloom. And when the transfers aren't coming quick enough, it can be a little doom and gloom. It has been a little doom and gloom the last week or so. But for the most part, a super community. Full of wonderful people. Lots of them are active in the live chat already. Some of you who are in the live chat aren't in the community yet, so go and scan that code, join the community. And also, if you're so inclined, hit the join button on YouTube, become a YouTube member for 99 cents per month. It's really cheap, but it does help us out quite a bit to keep producing and improving our podcast for you. But even more preferably, go to Patreon and join us there for $1.99 a month. It actually, for us, it's better because YouTube, it takes a lot, takes a big cut, all that kind of stuff. Also, we can't put all the content, all the exclusive content, we can't put it on YouTube because of copyright reasons. So Patreon gets more, you get more bang for your buck. But what you do get exclusively to YouTube for that 99 cents is you get loyalty badges in the live chat. And you get prioritized response to your chats as well. So that's exclusive to YouTube, of course. But as you see, we do try to answer most chats. But at a certain point, when there's just too much chat coming in, we're going to start prioritizing members. So if you're not a member, you might not get your question read out loud. Patreon, lots of extra content that you also get on YouTube, like the Schwarting Report, like the VIP podcast, but there's additional extra content, like I said, stuff that's a little bit more copyright sensitive is exclusive to Patreon for just $1.99 a month, and that really helps us out a lot. We were able to fully cover our team subscription this season with what we've earned from the Patreon members, so we really, really appreciate that because both Sinan and I over the last 6 years have pumped a lot of our own money in making this podcast a reality. And this is the first time, this is the first year that we are completely self-sufficient, no more money out of our own pockets. We're able to pay for everything, and that's really thanks to the Patreon members. So we really want to thank those people. But also please do consider joining us on their patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast, and you do get plenty in return for joining there. And it's really only, you can't even get a cup of coffee nowadays for less than $2, right? So
no way, not a good one, not a good one.
Yeah,
maybe a daily cup.
Yeah. So please do consider joining us on Patreon.
Let me close out. So I guess, of course, our next match is Thursday, July 31st against Shakhtar Donetsk. We're on the road. It's at 2 p.m. here in New York City. Check your local listings as per always. Co-signed Everything Con said. Like, follow, subscribe. Check out the Schwarting Report coming up soon. I got a fun little preseason recap, although I missed a fucking friendly apparently. I don't think
it was broadcasted actually.
Yeah, I can't be held against me in my power rankings. I will say our first official top fans ranking. I've never read this before. Number 1 today, Grey Wolf. Number 2, Nasty Nasser. He got eked out by Grey Wolf at the end. Little Nasser X. And then of course Carlito del Carmen. Shouts to or honorable mention to Serhat Kavas, Belaram. I don't know who NCD is. I gotta figure out what.
By the way, Sinan, I think when it's a very amicable discussion like it was with Serhat, I think you should refer to it as a discussion, not an argument, because argument makes it sound so negative, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I guess, or at least debate, right?
Yeah, debate, discussion,
hostile.
No, for sure. And we welcome contrary opinions.
Did I say argument? I think I said honorable mention.
You said that now, but earlier you were. When you were going over the tweets and you came to that point.
Yeah, so let's skip the argument.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to say, we appreciate people coming out because I think a lot of people in the comments agree with what we say, but a lot of people maybe don't agree, and there's a lot of people who are all out already.
Yeah. I mean, the highlights of these episodes is probably are those moments when we do get pushback and we kind of get a little excited.
Sure.
So no,
we welcome it as long as it's respectful.
Respectful,
and then because obviously if you start being disrespectful, then we might lose our heads as well and get a little bit disrespectful because we're only human. But everyone, like Serhat, was super respectful, and I think he is. I completely understand his frustration. I don't think his reasoning behind it is valid, because I think some of the points he brought up weren't fair, but I understand why he feels that way.
We know where they're coming from.
I understand.
We know where it's coming from.
Of course,
and we're all on the same team at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But so with that said, I feel like every week we have more and more listeners, so I have to prepare them for what's about to happen. But be prepared for a jump scare, because let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! Ozkan, no comment. There's Abachi. Nathan, Mr. Baseball Davis. Finish, not a Swedish kebab. Tristan, Berkey Gray. Michael Berry. Umer, Mr. Positive, Dara, the Irishman Hensi. Mario, 1 and a 2 and a 3, Vargas. Nihal Tariq. Make yourself known, Nihal. I need a nickname for you. The not sporting director, Sebastian Heinas. Batman, the vigilante Turk, mixing it up. Nasty Nas, Naste, Mr. Man U / Beşiktaş. And of course, the indomitable, indubitable, indefatigable financier himself, the Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody.
I had to remove that Kyle Walker Peters image there really quickly. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, whoops.